Welcome to our live stream from beautiful Sydney on this Saturday, and we've had our first race of the day. It is the Sydney Harbour Challenge, 5th annual event, proudly brought to you by Destination New South Wales, AOCRA. Thanks also to Ocean Paddler Television and the streaming guys, and welcome wherever you are around the world at the moment. Our first race of the day, we saw Northern Beaches absolutely outstanding, winning in 1 hour 46.28 in the open mixed. They won by 5 minutes and 46 seconds. We'll go through all of the results for you a little bit later on, but alongside me, a couple of legends. We had a standing O before. I've just got to do it. Danny Sheard alongside me. I know I'm off screen. But Danny Sheard, you're a hero of mine when I was growing up, of course, in that famous Alexander Headland Surf Club. But you've done the Molokai 22 times. Alongside you is Dean Gardner. Now, I said if Brad Gore could have a statue on the Northern Beaches at North Narrabeen, this guy, a 10-time Molokai champion. Welcome, boys. Great to see you.
Thanks.
Thanks, Steve.
Yeah.
Thanks for having us.
What were your thoughts of the opening race of the day? Northern Beaches home by 5 minutes and 46 seconds. They averaged around 14 kilometres an hour.
Yeah, I think we're just lucky we're not racing them. Mixed. Absolutely astonishing, to beat a crew like that, to beat somebody by 5 minutes in those conditions flat is quite remarkable.
Second place in that open mixed, Team Gold Coast in 1 hour 52.13. So the time's way ahead of last year, but, inclement weather last year, like howling winds and a lot of rain last year. So perfect today, Dean.
Yeah. I was out there last year on a boat for that particular race, and I was just watching the crews. They were struggling, there was side chop, there was everything going on last year, and this year is just absolutely perfect for this race.
Gee, you must be proud having an event like this on your home soil.
Yeah, any good ocean event that comes to Manly or to the Northern Beaches, I think is fantastic for not just for outrigger paddling, not just for surf ski paddling or surfing or whatever it is, for the whole water community in general.
We've got the women's race coming up in just a few moments' time, but later on this afternoon, you must be looking forward to seeing Red Bull in action. And Danny, you'll be in that race.
Yeah, we're paddling senior masters this half, so it's always good to race against all the open guys too. So that's the good thing about age grouping. We all race together, so it's not just you're racing your division, you're racing against your open, your masters, senior masters, golden masters. That's why these events are so good. Yeah.
And can I just put in that's what makes these events classic, because it gives the guys that there's a lot of very competitive guys in their 40s and 50s that can still go around with the open guys. So it's fantastic when they can mix it up with the open paddlers.
Tell us about your team.
My team, we're coming off a win from Molokai last year. We only started training beginning of January because it's a long year. So as we go to Molokai, which is in October, so basically we have a break for a while. Everyone does their individual things, but we started training just the beginning of January, and it's a long year till October, but we're going all right at the moment, so it's good to mix it up against our open boys too. That's what we like doing.
Let's go to the course map for our women's race coming up in just a few moments' time. Dean, I might get you to talk through this course because you know it like the back of your hand.
Okay, so when you start out of Manly, you come across, it's quite calm for the first kilometre or so, and you're going past Dobroyd Head there, and you start to get the open water of, from the sea coming in. So that's where they'll encounter most of the moving water is in this section from Dobroyd across to Middlehead. And then after Middlehead, it starts to flatten out a little bit, and then they do this long run. This is the sort of longest run they'll do all the way up to Bradley's Head. The beauty of Sydney Harbour is no matter how flat it is, there's always movement out there. There's current. There's, in some points, up to about a mile an hour of current taking them around the points. And then they start to see the city as they come up towards Bradley's Head. So they've got their first glimpse of the Harbour Bridge. And it's about a 3K run up to where they have to go to. They're going to have to duck in to all the bays to get away from the shipping movements and the various ferries and stuff on Sydney Harbour. But this part here is the iconic part of the race. You're going past the Opera House, you're going past Fort Denison. You can see the big iron coat hanger. It's right there, and that's your turning point. And I think once you get to this point, you're on your way home. And if it's an outgoing current, just in that first bit, you're picking up a bunch of movement that's taking you in the right direction. And around Bradley's Head, once again, you get the current that swings down and starts to head out towards the heads. And this is the part now where they'll start to get some runs. They'll start to get decent backwash and chop, and hopefully some decent ferry washes.
Boys, tell us, well, Danny, legendary ski paddler. Tell us how you got involved in this sport, because you've been involved for about a quarter of a century, and 22 starts in the Molokai and 18 wins in your division.
Yeah, we were all ski paddlers back in the day, I suppose, and then there was a couple of crews down at the Gold Coast, late 70s, Chris Maynard, all those guys, and then we just started with a couple of Hamilton Island crews, actually. That's where we eventuated in the early 90s. And then from then it's just progressed. And it's a great sport. I have friends all over the world in outrigging now. And some of my best friends are in Hawaii. It's just one of those sports that you get involved in. You're on the ocean. It's a team event too, where, you single ski, you're one man, you're on your own. But this team event, it's really good.
What about for you, Dino?
Yeah, so I got into outrigging similar to the way Danny did. I just didn't stay in it as long as he did. But I was very fortunate. I was based in Sydney here, and all the boys were paddling up in Queensland. They asked me to join their crew, and so the very first year we did that, we won the Molokai race, which was and Danny was on our escort boat that particular day, and that was a fantastic achievement for us, and just bringing a crew of ski paddlers together to participate in a team event like that was fantastic.
Just for our viewers, can you tell us who was in that crew that day, the OC6?
Yeah, well, for the Australian viewers, they'll know, Grant Kenny and Trevor Hendy and Clint Robinson and
Dwayne Thies
and Marty Kenny, and it was just an awesome array of good paddling guys.
So possibly about 20 Australian Ironman titles in that boat, and just some phenomenal ski paddlers, Olympians.
Correct, yeah. Olympic gold medalist, yep. And he'd won it at that time too, so.
Yeah, that's right, yeah.
What about speed? Like, how does it compare to when you're, doing the Molokai Channel on your surf ski?
Yeah, so for me, I find surf ski paddling's more of a tut thing, You're just tapping the water and you're trying to get the boat moving constantly. Whereas the outrigger tends to have more of a grunt about it. So you've got to put a lot of weight in at the front of that stroke to get the weight of the boat and the weight of the 6 people moving, and I tell you, that race we did that year, we caught some runs that I've never caught as good on a surf ski, so it was absolutely phenomenal. Yeah.
Well, what about spiritually, and what about the history of the sport? I mean, doesn't it date back like 30,000 years where Polynesians would go from island to island?
Yeah, well, that's the beauty of those crossing type events. You're doing that whole concept of where the sport came from, the getting from one place to another, and especially what makes it even better is when it's downwind. So the beauty of it is it's all downwind, and you get to catch some magical runs across the channel.
Just seeing at the moment, boys, so these are the women's crews. And last year in the women's, Outrigger Australia. So that team from Currumbin in 2 hours flat, 2 hours and 8 seconds. Mooloolaba in second place, 2:02.10. And the Northern Beaches in 2:04.30 in the Open Women last year. And also in the Open Women, 2 Hong Kong crews in the top 10 last year. And Pacifica and also Townsville. So from far north Queensland. Danny, we've just lost your microphone. We'll come back to that in a second. As the crews make their way to the starting line, they'll see a yellow flag, then green, and then we're racing. And also on the water for us, Kalai, who's been doing a fantastic job, a worldwide superstar. What's the greatest win you've had, Danny? And we'll fix your mic up, my friend.
Danny's gone down, so I'll talk.
He's gone dark.
Well, if you want me to answer the same question, I guess for me was the year we won the Molokai event, and I also won the surf ski event that particular year, and that was the first time I'd won it, and the first time I'd won the outrigger event. So it was sort of a very good year for me. So if you talk about things that I think about, that's definitely something that I think about.
And do you race in the OC1 as well?
No, I'm terrible on that thing. So. Yeah, no good at all.
What are your expectations in this? So we're seeing some stats here, the women's race results from last year, and look at those pictures, Dean. I mean, this is your home territory. It is just magnificent.
Yeah, Manly's such a special place in many different ways, and for a water person, it's probably the ultimate paradise. You get the surf on the ocean side, and you've got the whole harbour side, and the harbour is such a hive of activity with the boats and the paddling and the various things you can do out there. So the whole Northern Beaches section is a very, very great part of the world.
So with the women's race coming up in a few moments' time, Danny, you're back on the air. No, Danny's not on the air, but I'd like to get you to talk about Mooloolaba at some point, because the team recently won the 1,500 metres Open National Sprint title, but this more a long-distance event. 22 Ks, how does that feel, Dino? Like, is it a sprint, or what are the tactics?
Yeah, well, 22 Ks is one of those nasty distances, Well, I think the guys did 14k an hour for that first race, so you're under 2 hours, and generally the race is over 2 hours. You can get into a good rhythm. Between an hour and a 2 hour event, you're sort of halfway between going as hard as you can and finding that rhythm, so it makes it really tough. But the beauty of this race, it's broken up into sections, so you can use those sections of the harbour to find out where it's going to work best for you.
So crews on their way, where we're told, we're reliably informed that Danny is back live on the air.
Yeah, I'm back.
That's great, my friend. So this sport's become your life, hasn't it?
Yeah, life after not, I suppose you'd call it. We enjoy it so much, and just getting down here and seeing all the guys that and the girls that travelling from Hawaii, that it's the camaraderie of that is really good. So, and then when you get out there and race, it's all on the line, and you have a lot of enjoyment doing it.
You live in such a beautiful part of Australia. By plane, it's a couple of hours, but around about 1,200 kilometres from where we are today. Where do you predominantly train up there?
We're in Mooloolaba, so we've got a very good area to train out of. We have a break wall there, so basically any conditions we can go out, and then we also have the river. So we've got the best of both worlds there, and we've got a great club there at Mooloolaba now. A lot of good canoes, a lot of good people, and like any club, you've got to have the committees that run it and sponsors. And I think at the moment we've got 14 canoes there.
So this team, boat 335, and they're one of the favourites for the women's event this afternoon. Lily Mitchell, Sonia Stafford, Leah McKenzie, Zara Smith, Erin Hurst, and Lee Slosh.
That's right. You got Lily and Sonia. Lily is actually Sonia's daughter. So if Lily starts to lacking off a bit in number one, Son will just give her a clip around the ear, I'm sure. So that's a mother and daughter in 1 and 2 there. They've just come off the Australian titles, winning the 1,500 metre in the sprint. And then last weekend they also won convincingly the regatta that we had at Redcliffe, which was a marathon.
So Leah also a champion surfboat rower, is that correct?
Lee?
No?
No, not that Lee.
Leah McKenzie?
No, that's Lee Slosh.
So Australian...
Lee McKenzie, yes, she is, sorry, wrong Lee. There's 2 Lees in there. Yeah, she rode surfboats too, yeah.
Fantastic. And mate, where do you sit in the boat? Like we were talking earlier that those middle seats is like the powerhouse, the engine room. Front seat is like tempo and rating. So where have they placed you, my friend?
I'm in seat 6. I'm the steerer. I'm probably one of the biggest steerers around. But being a big steerer, you have to paddle a lot. We've probably changed the technique of steering over the years back here, like with me being a bigger steerer. Crosswind, it's not real good, but downwind and upwind, you've got strength at the back, and as long as you don't poke all the time, you basically got a lot of strength back there.
Well, he's like a V8 engine, isn't he?
He's a big boy.
What about for you, Dean? Where do you sit in the boat?
Wherever the worst person goes. So usually in towards the back of the boat. I haven't spent a lot of time in the boat when I've done it, so they just put me at the back somewhere.
We might be ready here for a start. So like we said, there'll be a yellow flag, then green means we go racing. And some of the crew's still warming up. Probably coming back to the start here.
Look at that blue. Look at that colour there. It's fantastic.
We're being told 5 minutes. 5 minutes until race time. Let's just quickly... who sat in the front seat? in that OC6 that you're in, the legendary team.
Yeah, so we had a guy called Adam Alcantara and Clinton Pryor. They were good smaller guys, you know. We needed some small guys, being that a large number of our team were sort of medium to bigger guys. So, and then we had this massive guy in Jason Pryor in the team too, who's still massive to this day, and you know, just an animal. So he was in the middle of the boat. So
he's come back racing in the last couple of years with Martin Kenny in surf skis.
Yeah, he's back onto the surf ski racing, and yeah, he was. You could feel the power when he was in the boat. That's for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. Who are the superstars of this sport, Danny?
At the moment, you know, looking on the world stage, you've got Molokai, which is the pristine event, and then you've got all the Tahitian races. So basically, Tahiti have, you know, dominated over the last 12 years in Molokai, and of course they dominate in Tahiti. No one can get within the first 5 places of them if they go down there and race. So the Tahitians now, then Red Bull came into it last year, the last couple of years. So Red Bull actually won the race last year with a few of the Tahitians in there, but it was good to see, you know, half of that crew were Hawaiians. So it was great to see the Hawaiians getting back into the winning circle over there because they haven't been there for a while.
What makes them so good?
I think it's they dominate down there. They have so many people down there that want to do it, and there's just they love doing it. They've got the climate, the area where they paddle around the islands, around the reef, and there's just the numbers down there. So you might have 30 in the shell team, but there's another 30 behind them trying to get into that team.
Yeah, it's amazing.
So, yeah, it is amazing.
And seeing videos of Red Bull, I mean, they say they paddle for pride. That's what it's all about for them, and family.
Yeah, and I guess that's what it should be. You know, like if you want to get good at something, if you're passionate about it, and it's something that you love to do, you will get good at it. And if you spend the time doing it, you're going to get good. So that sounds like the right attitude to me.
Dino, paint a picture for us.
Okay, so I guess a lot of these crews are a little bit nervous right now because probably a lot of these paddlers may never have paddled on Sydney Harbour before, so it's a little bit daunting to know exactly where you're going. But I think a lot of these people will be very excited. You know, how can you not be on a day like today compared to last year where it was belting down, they had the wind in their face, and they, you know, just staying in the boat was part of the challenge. So I think this year's race will be a pretty magical one for a lot of people.
So just before our start, boat 218 is Pipwater. That's a Master Women's crew. Boat 228, Senior Masters Women from New Zealand. Boat 335 is Team White from Mooloolaba, so that's an open women's team. There's a Hong Kong crew, which is boat 352. Then you've got, well, there's a couple of Dana teams. There's Dana White. So this is a team from Catalina, their championship team in California.
Wow, that's fantastic. Yeah, that's a tough race, that Catalina race. It's cold, it's generally flat, and you can't see the finish.
So we're on standby to go to Kalai. Out there. Let's go to our man on the water, Kalai. Okay, we'll go to Kalai in just a couple of moments' time. And now let's go live.
3, 2, 1. All right, gang, are you ready for the second race of the day? I am. It's the women's turn, and right now all of our crews are lined up at the buoy. We just got a notification from our man in the water here, Mike Mills Tom, and he's getting ready to start. He's got the black flag up. We're going to have our start in just a second here. And let me tell you, I'm excited for this race because of some of the teams that have showed up. We got great international participation, particularly in this women's race. And some of the best from around the world are here to compete. And we're going to be really in for a treat and hopefully see some exciting battles at least towards the top of the pack. You know, there's always battles throughout the race. Anytime two canoes are lined up, it's going to be a battle, but particularly some of our top-notch crews are ready to go. So we're going to have our start here in just a second. And ready, here they come, go. We've just got our start for the women's race, and what I'm talking about in particular are 3 crews that I'm looking at. In these waters. These women train hard, they are very experienced, they are real top-notch serious canoe paddlers. Second, we have a crew here from Dana Point, California. These women are, again, top-notch paddlers, and particularly in this type of flat water, they are expert. They are fit, They are strong and they are experienced as well. Unfortunately, our team from Outrigger, Australia, that did a second place in the 2017 Navahine Okekai, has, for whatever, not the same bunch of girls showing up in their crew today. Unfortunately, I was looking forward to them because the crew that is here, a crew that they beat in the 2017 Navahine Okekai, Outrigger Oahu, those girls are here. And it was going to be neat to see a replay between that race of the second and third place at the Navahine Okekai of last year. However, that Outrigger team here is here from Oahu. These girls are on what they call a vacation. Now, for all of you that don't know, the word va'a means canoe in Polynesia. And so they're on a vacation. They're here just to enjoy the Sydney area, check out Australia. Many of them, their first time here, and come out here and particularly hammer it down in this race. This is a crew of young girls. They've been paddling together for a while. They have won a bunch of the earlier season races in Hawaii last year. Of course, this is kind of the off season for six-man outrigger canoe paddling in Hawaii. In Hawaii, this is our winter, and so we got a lot of the OC1 going on right now, kayaking. And some of these girls, particularly like Amy Wood, Anela Borges, Kahala Schneider, these girls are top paddlers in the OC1. So they are certainly not out of training for this time of year. But they've been building this outrigger program over the last probably couple of years, and we've seen them be consistent with their improvement. Now, I'm looking for Dana Point, Mooloolaba, and Outrigger Oahu particularly to be our three most competitive crews. But as you can see, it's going to be a solid, tough, hard-fought race throughout this whole course. Now, as far as conditions, we've seen the northern wind continue to fill in and build. And as you can see already, there's a little bit of chop and fun stuff these girls are going to be able to play with for this first part of the race. But these ladies, as they get into that middle part of the bay, kind of by Middlehead, there's going to be some open ocean swells. It's going to be kind of rough, maybe more for them to work with. But on the way home, this wind is going to be in their face. And that's going to really be a testament and a test of their fitness in today's race. So we're going to see who in the beginning part of this course is able to use the wind to their advantage, and then who on the backside of this race is able to just push through and persevere towards that finish line at Manly Cove. Now, the second part of the weather that has changed is the sun is definitely here. We're coming into midday Sydney time, and it's getting hot. It's going to be, for all of us that are watching maybe from America or Hawaii, it's going to be in the upper 80s to low 90s. It's going to be a hot race out there, and we're going to see if these girls, these ladies, are properly hydrated, if they've been training in warm weather and are ready for this. Now, we're going to jump out here. We're going to try to identify what our top boats are, but that's what the conditions we're seeing out here. That's the crews that I'm looking for, and hopefully there's some surprises out there as well, some crews that are going to be coming out of the other side and really surprising us today. We're looking for that. So right now, stay in our camera. We're going to be throwing it back to you for commentary in the studio as we sort out who is going to be our top finishers, our top starters, sorry, as we get to our first point here and work towards Middlehead here at the 2018 Sydney Harbour Challenge. Stay with us.
Thanks again to Kalai on our support boat, and just doing an amazing job on the water today. Now, Danny, a legend alongside me, Danny Sheard, and Dean Gardner, 10-time Molokai ski champion, and there should be a statue erected. In fact, the honourable member will be coming back here a little bit later on today, the member for Manly. I think we moved that motion. As you drive down towards Manly Beach, there should be a Dean Gardner statue erected.
I'm sure there's a lot of people that would want statues before I do, so let's get theirs up first and then we can think about my one.
So 5 minutes elapsed race time, and Danny, you can actually tell by their boats who's out in front at the moment?
Yeah, that looked like the girls from Outrigger, Hawaii there. That is them there on the green covers there. Over on the inside, I can see the black and white zebra boat, which is the Mooloolaba girls. And then there's another two crews there, just trying to pan in on their number there. I presume one of them is the Dana Point girls.
Okay, so, Dean, it looks like the 640 crew, which is the girls from Hawaii, looks like they're a little bit wider out, and there's a couple of crews closer to the headland.
Yeah. So for me on a ski, I would be sticking closer to the headland right there because just the direction in which you're heading, that's more of a straight line, and they will get some rebound, not huge rebound, but there will be some rebound coming off that corner right there at Dobroyd Point. So the girls on the outside probably won't get the benefit of that rebound. But they look pretty even at this particular point, and the rebound won't be significantly big. So there's no real huge advantage at this point of the race.
Well, no one surfs swells better than the man alongside you, Dean Gardner. And what about dragging? Like if they were closer to that crew on the inside or to the right of the screen, could they drag off them?
Yeah, you do. You do get a little bit of a drag, especially in these flatter conditions here like this. Once you get past the walls there of the rocks, she starts to flatten out a little bit more, but you can see there's a bit of texture on the water there, which isn't too bad. If you can sit up and you can actually wash right and just conserve energy like you can on a surf skier or one man, you can still do the same on a six man as long as you've got a couple of good steerers around you.
So head-on shot there, Danny. Can you tell which boat that is that we're looking at, the white and blue boat?
White and blue, that's a Mooloolaba boat. This could be our second women's crew. It is, actually.
And the boat that we saw, 640, so that's Hoku Kiala, Amy Woodward, Angie Dolan, Anela Borges, who we heard about just a moment ago, Orlani Hall, and Kahala Schneider. So there they are again. And we saw a moment ago, like, they're currently rating at about 14 kilometres an hour. So they're off to a flying start.
That's right. There is a crew that's sort of pushed up in front. We might be able to see who they are in a sec. But Amy's out there a little bit wider. She's never been here before, so she's steering the outrigger Hawaii crew there. When they get to the next point, they will all converge again and go around the corner.
So that looks like Dana that's jumped ahead there just in that last couple of 100 metres. So maybe they did get something off the rock wall that bounced them back out there. And what will be significant now is with the incoming tide is when they get to Middlehead, there will be a little bit of a push taking them towards the city. Of course, that's going to play against them when they turn around and make their way back. But there is about half a knot of current that runs along the cliff face there at Middlehead and also at Bradley's Head.
So the Dana Green team, which, Dean, you believe is out in front, 5:34. So that's Chaz Dutro, Brittany Crail, Jen Holcomb, Mackenzie Snyder, April Harris, and Laurie Davis. So back now with boat 640. Now, we saw in the previous race where Northern Beaches were it was an emphatic victory, and they led from start to finish. So how important is it getting an early lead, Dean?
I think, if you're in front, well, you're in front, and that's probably, if you want to win a race, that's where you've got to be. So there's no real point sort of holding back too much. And, if you can hold the front and you're doing it comfortably, stay there.
About to go back live with Kalahi, who's out on the water, and it's been a fantastic start. And a little bit unlike the last race that we saw, we've got a fairly bunched field here, fighting for positions at this stage, Danny.
Yeah, it's always good to have that bunch up the front there. You get clear water if you're in front, of course, but if you only got one or two, three crews around you, you can sort of pick your own lines. When you're back in the pack, that's where it becomes a little bit all over the place. You're bumping off canoes, you're bumping off waves. We're going live.
Let's go to our man on the water, Kalai.
All right, welcome back to our water coverage of the women's race here at the Sydney Harbour Challenge. Right behind us, that's Team Vacation, which is basically Outrigger Oahu, and they are in this little grouping of top four. Maybe slightly ahead of them, and I will give them first place. I would say that's Dana Point from California. They are pretty much in the lead for this one. Just outside of them on the far side is Mooloolaba, and we also have a team from Northern Beaches trying to establish themselves with this pack of canoes in the front of the race. This team from Hawaii looking pretty smooth right now. They just came back, four of them actually just came back from Tahiti where they competed in the Hawaii Nui and with a third place finish. All six of these girls will compete in the one-man season and the Molokai Crossing for the OC1. And they're going to continue to try to stay together and work their way towards a strong showing this next coming season in Hawaii, working towards Navahine Okekai. And just for you, we have Hoku Keala, Amy Woodward, Anela Borges, Aulani Hall, Kahala Schneider, and Angie Dolan. Those are our six ladies paddling in this crew right here from Outrigger. Dana Point in the lead, of course. continue to stay right about the same. We're not witnessing the same type of dominance that we saw in the mixed division, and hopefully these 4 crews will kind of stay together and battle it out over the next hour and a half to 2 hours as we take you through the course of the women's race here at the Sydney Harbour Challenge. We are just coming up on Middlehead, where this is probably the roughest portion of the race, where this corridor of water comes through here into Sydney Harbour from the Pacific Ocean. It's going to be a little rough, a little bumpy at the point, and we'll see which crews are able to use that wave reflection and ocean action to their benefit. Just about a minute we'll be having that, and so we're going to send it back to you in the studio. Great stuff to see here. It's getting sunnier. I'm going to get darker as the day goes on, if that's even possible. But you know, when you're darker, it just makes your teeth look whiter, so that's a good thing. But as we get to this Middlehead, we'll give you some action with that beautiful cliff in the background, and then we'll follow these ladies as they round to Bradley Head and into the more urban areas of Sydney Harbour. But we're looking for boat traffic, we're looking for bumps on the water, we're hoping to keep these ladies safe as they participate in this race here. So coming up on Middlehead, it's tough. Dana Point, Mooloolaba, Outrigger, Hawaii, and to this guy's surprise at least, maybe not to them, Northern Beaches, these 4 crews looking tough, getting things started here at the Sydney Harbour Challenge.
So thanks again to Kalai, and we're back live in the studio. Alongside me, Danny Shear. Great to have you with us. Absolute legend from the Sunshine Coast. And Dean Gardner, the 10-time Molokai champion. Dino, it's a fantastic race. What about knowledge of the course? Would they have spent much time out on the waters here? And what would you be doing at this point in the race if you were out there?
Yeah, so I think it's important that you have some sort of knowledge. Obviously, knowing which way the water's moving, and in this particular case, it's going to be taking them towards the city once they get past Middlehead. I think most of these crews would have spent some time out there. At the very least, it would have been catching the ferry over from the city. So, there's tons of different things that go on Sydney Harbour, and it's not just about the water movement. It's about the chop, the backwash, the ferries. You can time a run with a ferry going around a corner and get a massive wash off that too. So there's a whole range of different things, and hopefully some of these people will start taking advantage of some of those different little aspects of what goes on out there.
Yeah, as a steerer, this is where the fun part starts, like coming up to the heads, where you're looking at crews, where you want to be the inside or the outside of them, because coming around some of them points, you do get a lot of tidal, and there is a couple of little waves every now and then that pop up. So you want to be on the inside of a crew going around, but not too inside, because they could push you up on the rocks. So you just got to basically time your run and make sure you're in the right position when you get to those points.
So do we just see the battle for first place, and they're roughly about 10 to 15 metres apart from each other?
I think that was another section, but I think that outrigger crew or the Hawaiian crew are still a little bit wider than the Dana crew. But that Dana crew looks like over the last sort of kilometre, they've really put in a big effort, and they seem to be about half a boat length in front.
Danny, I think you've got to go and prepare now for your race. So what do you do between now and race time at 2 o'clock?
McDonald's is over there, so it's usually good for a Big Mac just before the start. No, not much. Everything.
And we're back live. We just lost audio momentarily. Danny, your main challenges this year?
This year we've got 13 in the Senior Masters, so we've got 2 or 3 here from Sydney, Port Hacking, Northern Beaches. There is a couple of crews which, the unknown of it because you haven't raced them yet this year. So it's always good to get out there and race. But as I said, we're racing against the open boys too. So there's a lot of boats out there.
We're going to do a switch over here. So Danny's going to jump out and Jamie Gray's going to jump in, and Jamie also involved. So we'll do that swap over now. We'll see if we can make it seamless.
Thanks, Steve.
Great to see you. Round of applause for the great Danny Sheard.
Good luck, Danny.
22 Molokai races for Danny Sheard, and as I said, he was a real hero of mine when I was growing up on the Gold Coast, and still is the great man from the Sunshine Coast. Jamie, welcome. How are you feeling?
Thank you. I'm great, Steve. It's a pleasure to follow someone like Danny, legend of the sport.
We'll just pop that right up there. And what are you seeing so far? So Northern Beaches winners in the opening race of the day in 1 hour 46.28.
Mate, it's impressive work. The Northern Beaches Club has been sort of going from strength to strength, I guess, across the different categories. So they're definitely a force to be reckoned with out there on the water today.
Tell us about your boat later on this afternoon.
Yeah, definitely. So I'm going to be in the men's. I'm paddling with a kayaker. So a kayaker's another Northern Beaches Club that's been going from strength to strength of late. So I think we've got 5 crews in the race today. So, yeah, it's going to be a good battle out there on the water. We're looking forward to it.
And for our worldwide audience, who's on board?
Well, we've got our crew's actually made up of a bit of a mixed bunch of fellas. So the kayaker club generally's got we've got some awesome paddlers with the likes of Nathan Pearl, who's been in the sport for a very long time. But our B crew, we've got a lot of guys in there from different sports. We've got some surfers, we've got some rugby union players. But we've got Heath Thompson, Jimmy Sulman, Daz Thompson, and a good mix of Anthony Burgess, who's our big 6'4" legend. So we've got a good team out there.
Dino, you're nodding. You know most of these guys?
Yeah, I've heard of most of these guys. They might be famous sportsmen, or they might be really good at drinking beers, but they're all a bunch of good blokes on the Northern Beaches here. So I hope they do well out there today. It's a good fun getting a crew of 6 guys together from various sporting groups and putting them together in our river. It's so much fun.
100%, but we got to agree what happens on Norfolk Island stays on Norfolk Island, okay?
So, watching live pictures. So we've got an update for you. So Dana Green are out in front, and it's around about 8 seconds at the moment. The Hawaiian team, Vacation, in second place. Northern Beaches.
Yeah, they're doing well. They're doing really well.
Currently in third, and they're 13 seconds back. Then it's a couple of Mooloolaba crews. In fact, Mooloolaba 2 in front of Mooloolaba 1, followed by Noosa, and then another Mooloolaba team is 1 minute 32 behind.
Mate, they're definitely a strong club, even on the junior side of things. Mooloolaba's been, really putting in a lot of groundwork, and they're obviously with 3 crews up there. They're doing fantastic today.
Jamie, you said you're with the Kayaker Club. Who are you with, Dino?
I'm with no one at the moment. I'm a free agent.
we might have to recruit you, mate.
You'd need the great man, the Sabo. There is our graphic, and how good is this GPS? So you'll see there's blue there, there's green, and there's red. So they're the races within the race. So the open women obviously are the blue, and we've got some age group categories in there. Is that correct, Jamie?
Yeah, definitely. It's always great to get these different age categories in together, and a lot of the times you'd think they're very close. Even between the different age categories, the Masters are doing extremely well. But I think out there in today's conditions, it's really going to be a technical race.
You can actually see from everyone outside our marquee here just how good that graphic is. Everyone kind of studying that to see where their friends and family and loved ones are in this race at the moment. Round about 20 minutes almost of elapsed time.
Okay.
So where are they now, Dean? Can you tell? You know this course like the back of your hand, as I said.
Yeah, so I said this is the long stretch. So this is the stretch from Middlehead to Bradley's Head. There's 3 distinct points along there. They're about to go past Obelisk Beach, which is a popular beach for people that don't like wearing clothes. And there's a lot of stuff going on here now. This is where the water has come into the harbour. Now it's trying to disperse out through the harbour. So right here is where the water's taking them towards the city.
Definitely, and they've still got the wind up their tail there as well, so it looks like that wind is still picking up. I think it's meant to be peaking today around 25 knots, a little bit later, but it's definitely giving them a nice push down the harbour there at the moment.
Jay, can we see speeds of some of those leading boats at the moment? Has it got kilometres? Because in our first race of the day, they averaged around 13 to 14 kilometres per hour. What's that in miles, Dean? 13 to 14?
I think it's probably 8 miles an hour, is it?
I've thrown you under the bus.
Yeah. It's 8 miles an hour. Let's go with that.
Hey, earlier we had James Casey, and I said live that he could be a male model. Well, have a look at Jamie Gray, who technically was the original male model here in Sydney.
Oh, yeah, that's going back a pretty long time, mate. I don't think the records quite go back that far, but there have been some rumours around the place.
So, Team Cronulla at the moment, on your screens, this is the Sydney Harbour Challenge, the 5th annual event. It's grown every year. In fact, it's so popular, this sport. In fact, Dean, from the days when you first started, and you've probably seen it grow astronomically.
Yeah, there was always that thing that ocean sports were dominated by surf lifesaving, and then people started branching out into the outriggers, into the paddle boards, into the ocean racing skis, and now stand-up and a range of foiling now are all big things. So it's great to see people taking part in a range of ocean activities.
So just over 20 minutes gone, 21 minutes in fact, and this event brought to you by Destination New South Wales. Thank you also to Ocean Paddler Television and the streaming guys and, of course, AOCRA. So it's a little deceptive because we're seeing some boats. They might actually say where the boat's from, but the crew could be from somewhere else because they're borrowed boats. Is that correct, Dean?
As far as I know, yeah. So that, and also some of the crews might be mixed up as well. So we're seeing a port hacking boat there. I'm not sure if that's an entire port hacking crew, but it could be made up of 3 port hacking people and maybe a couple of people from Cronulla or somewhere else. So I think that can sort of throw you off track sometimes.
So what are you seeing, Dean, and also Jamie, about their rating? Like, look at the stretch there. So they have technique-wise, they look fantastic.
Yeah, look, I really think, the Sydney Harbour Challenge really is a race that's going to be sort of won or lost off the back of good technique. There are definitely still opportunities out there in the forms of, swells bouncing off the headlands, ferries coming past. So you've just got to be 100% ready to grab those opportunities when they arrive. But looking at the crews there, the timing's looking pretty good. The changes are looking pretty nice as well. So I think the teams that really sort of come to the forefront in this race are going to have some good technique on board.
Dino, you're a legend of paddle sports. What's your main focus when you're burying that paddle?
Yeah, well, like a lot of our paddle sports are all at the front. So you put that paddle in and you just try and oomph it past. And you don't necessarily always have to do that. There's a little bit of finesse when it comes to riding downwind. So you might not need to put all the power on because power causes movement in the boat also. So especially in an outrigger crew where there's 6 people paddling, the timing is absolutely crucial because if everyone hits it together, they'll be able to catch those runs a lot easier.
Yeah, definitely on the run back too, when they're pushing into that wind, I guess that's when the stroke's going to slow down, the rate's going to slow down a little bit, and I guess the team that can manage to keep that power up into the wind with a slightly slower rate is probably going to be the team that pushes ahead.
So at the moment, the Dana Green team, they're kind of fluctuating, Dean, between anywhere from 11 to about 13 kilometres an hour. So that speed is going up and down. Would there be a reason for that?
Yeah, I think they're in a point now where you can see the texture on the water. There's a bit of movement there, so they're getting little glides on the top of the water there. So just enough to create a kilometre, half a kilometre an hour's difference,
Yeah, so you can see there. So they're anywhere between 12 and maybe even up to 14 kilometres. Have you got and we can see there's a 2-minute spread down to 10th place. In fact, 1 minute 43 behind the leader at the moment. So 8 seconds still is that gap between 1 and 2. And tight for the top 3, 13 seconds is the gap back to the 3rd place boat.
Yeah, definitely. And then, look, it's obviously opened up a little bit. Those top 3 have sort of started to pull a little bit away from number 4 there. So, I guess they're pushing each other. They can hear the huts calling from the other boats and they know they're breathing down their necks and they're all pushing hard, so it's great to see.
Yeah, Jamie, tell us about communication in the boat.
Definitely. Well, look, we've definitely tried to train to keep the talk down, I guess, generally in the boat. We've got our key positions that we'll call the huts and the lifts, and I think that really just comes down to, I guess, everyone cooperating, everyone focusing on their own job, because when you do get everybody from various positions starting to, talk, it's normally because something might have gone wrong and we're abusing each other, but generally speaking, it's a little bit more controlled than that.
Dean, did you like a lot of talk in the boat?
No, I'm probably the same, you don't need to talk unless you need to talk. So if you're talking, then probably you're not going hard enough. So That's generally the perception that most people have.
I imagine a lot of testosterone going around in that men's boat too.
Yeah. Look, we did have a race in Ettalong a few weeks back, or about a month back, where there may have been a wrong turn made somewhere, and there was a little bit of banter in the boat, but we all made friends at the end of the day. But that's racing, you know.
So for our international audience, Ettalong, probably about just over an hour on the beautiful central coast of New South Wales.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's a beautiful part of the world to race, and I guess that's something that we really are blessed with here, you know, in and around Sydney. The East Coast offers some fantastic racing at the various regattas that we have going on.
So we heard from Danny Sheard, he was off to McDonald's. What will you do prior to race time at 2 o'clock?
Look, there'll probably be a couple of beers involved, but...
prior to race time?
Well, not prior, after. So, no, look, prior to race time, we'll definitely be probably get some gels going, make sure the camel packs are all fully hydrated. We did have a bit of an injury yesterday with our number one.
Is that better? Can you hear me now? We're just past Middle Head here in Sydney Harbour, about maybe a quarter to third of the way into our race for the women's race at the Sydney Harbour Challenge. Behind us, Dana Point Outrigger in first place. They are a strong team of women, obviously, from California, and they are doing really good in this water here today. Behind them, maybe about 2 or 3 boat lengths, is Outrigger from Oahu, kind of staying right with them, right about the same. These Dana Point Outrigger girls look very strong. Outrigger Oahu looks very smooth, and behind them, kind of hanging with Outrigger Oahu, is our team from Northern Beaches. They're having a strong showing here today. Right behind them, kind of on the inside a little bit, that's Mooloolaba's white team. And as you can tell by the movement in your computer screen, it's getting a lot rougher out here. Not only do we have the wind chop picking up, but there are way bigger numbers as far as boats out here right now than there were earlier in our mixed division race. The traffic on this waterway will continue to increase as we work our way into the afternoon and the upcoming men's race. And you can see how all this wake, all this boat traffic not only makes the course a little bit rougher, a little bit more technical, but increasingly dangerous. And we just want to make sure that we keep these ladies safe as they race here at the Sydney Harbour Challenge. Now, again, this team from Dana Point Outrigger, looking strong, looking solid. They're kind of just setting their pace, keeping their stroke nice and long, looking pretty smooth right now, I'll tell you the truth. And they are just kind of working. They're not really, I would say, dropping the crews behind them. Second, third, maybe even fourth place are kind of holding their ground with this crew. But when we come into that flatter waters, right around this corner here, coming up, as we approach Sydney Harbour Bridge, it tends to get a little flatter in there, and that might be to the advantage of this Dana Point team. So we're going to see how that plays out for the rest of the race here. But coming up on about the 1/3 way into this race, and the ladies are kicking butt out here. They're making it happen. So Dana Point Outrigger holding on to the lead in a very solid position.
So thanks again to Kalai out on the water. He's got the best job of this Super Saturday in Sydney with the 5th annual Sydney Harbour Challenge. Quick commercial break, then we're back with the women's race in 2018.
Sydney, surrounded by pristine national parks, riverways, stunning water views, iconic beaches, and coastal walks from the north to the south, all with the beautiful harbour at its heart. You'll love every second of Sydney. Discover more at sydney.com.
The Sydney Harbour Challenge is made possible by the New South Wales Government via its Tourism and Major Events Agency, Destination New South Wales. AOCRA, the Australian Outrigger Canoe Racing Association. Produced by Ocean Paddler TV, dedicated to the sport and culture of outrigger canoeing. And co-produced by The Streaming Guys. You are now live. Don't forget to share with your friends on social media this exciting live coverage of the 2018 Sydney Harbour Challenge.
Welcome back, the 2018 Sydney Harbour Challenge, the 5th annual event here in Manly. I'm Steve Allen. Alongside me is Jamie Gray, who's racing in the men's event this afternoon, and also an absolute legend, a hero of mine, the great Dean Gardner, and a 10-time winner of the Molokai ski race. No one surfs ocean swells better than Dean Gardner. Actually, Dean, I saw a video of you the other day crossing Bass Strait where you were supporting the boys, including Brad Gall, who was in commentary earlier today.
Yeah, what an amazing trip that was. And to watch those guys tough it out hour after hour each day, 7-hour days bashing a paddleboard across Bass Strait. I was in luxury on my ski going across there.
Earlier today, Northern Beaches won the Open Mixed in 1 hour 46.28. The Master Mixed went to Outrigger Australia, the famous team from Currumbin on the Gold Coast, 1 hour 53.37. That was close, in fact. Port Hacking, a crew from Sydney, 1 hour 54.14, so around about 30 seconds between those two crews. Then the Senior Master Mixed, so it was Surfers Paradise Gold in 2 hours flat and 12 seconds, a couple of minutes behind Surfers Paradise. The Love Boat was in that race as well. And the Golden Master, that's the over 60s, and Burley were the winners there in 2 hours and 11. But in the women's race at the moment, 32 minutes the elapsed time. We're seeing pictures out on the harbour at the moment. But Jamie, if you will, I know there's a lot of people watching the live stream right around the world and they want to know where their friends, their family, their loved ones are. Can you give us who's in the top 10 at the moment?
Yeah, look, definitely, of course. So we've got Dana Green in first place at the moment, so they're doing extremely well. We've got the Hawaiian team coming in second place, and it looks like they're about 18 seconds behind, which is great. Northern Beaches is in third. We've got Mooloolaba 2, who are still in front of their Mooloolaba 1 team, which is pretty awesome. Well done, guys. Noosa is coming in next. And then we've got yet another Mooloolaba team. These guys are really holding up there well. Those guys are followed by Outrigger Australia, and it looks like there's a spread there of a good, I guess, from first through to there. That's probably about a couple of minutes. So they're pretty tight. They're really coming through. I guess after Outrigger Australia, we've got another Dana White team, followed by Outrigger Australia, Sydney, Port Hacking. Pronounce that one. Do you know what's that?
Which one's that one?
The Midamadaggara.
Have you thrown him under the bus again?
That was terrible.
Dino, have a look at this.
New Zealand, the first team from New Zealand.
There we go. Cool.
Have a look at that, Dean, with an ocean liner in the background. And are they going around towards the world-famous Taronga Zoo?
Yes, that's correct. They're going to head to the right there and whip down to a turning buoy down in the corner there at Athol Bay, which is Taronga Zoo. And from there, they've probably got about 3 kilometres to their turning mark over at Lavender Bay.
So one of those Mooloolaba cruise boys is boat 636. It's the Mooloolaba Senior Master Women. Diane Saville, Annie Williams, Judy Benny, Brianne Prizeman, Renona Cuff. So she's a legendary paddler. I think she's done Molokai over 20 times. And Lynn Loney. So that's one of the 3 Mooloolaba crews that are in good shape in this race.
You know what? That's what I love about the sport as well. I mean, for people that are tuning in that I guess aren't that familiar A lot of these people, I guess, at the pointy end are, highly trained athletes, but the sport is accessible to pretty much anyone and everyone. All you've got to have is a will and a desire to get out there and embrace something new. And, the clubs that are definitely around the place have been building, and, particularly people that might have been involved in sport previously in their life that haven't been involved in team sports before. Outrigger paddling is a fantastic opportunity to get back engaged in that kind of team spirit,
So do you predominantly race in a men's team, or?
Yeah, look, I did actually have my first mixed race, so a few of the wives of the boys in our team have decided that we've been having a little bit too much fun, and they've pulled together their own mixed or a girls crew. So, I had a first paddle with my wife 2 weeks ago at the Bondi event, which was fantastic.
And how'd you go?
Look, it was good. I think we came second. The girls went extremely well. They've been probably training now for about 2 months, and that was their second race, and they did extremely.
Dino, what can you see here?
Okay, so these look like some of the back crews here coming around Bradley's Head now. You can see they're probably moving pretty quick here because this is where there's significant movement. Once they get around here, it'll flatten off again because they're going to be out of the wind, so they'll have the lee of that headland there. So it'll be quite calm, pretty well all the way to the bridge and back to this point. And then coming back, they're going to be pushing against the northerly winds and also the inbound current. So it'll make it a little bit tough, especially going around this point here.
So there's a little gap back to third place. That's Northern Beaches, but the fight is on between the Californian crew, Dana Green, and Hawaii Vacation. There's just 18 seconds separating them, so it's a fantastic race at the moment.
Yeah, what a fantastic battle, you think that you wonder if Dana have gone out too strong, and then when they go back into the wind, heading back in, they might die a little bit or whatever. And the big thing for the Hawaiian girls is that on the turn they might be able to make up a little bit of ground there and slip in behind the Dana girls and get a bit of an advantage by wash riding them back into the wind and the current. So there's a lot of tactics that come into this race.
I tell you, boys, we just saw a great head-on shot. Just how choppy it's starting to get out there on the harbour.
Yeah, look, definitely. So, and I think that's only going to increase over the day. So, I think the back half of the race on the way back into the wind could even potentially favour, a completely different team that have a different technique. So, who knows what's going to happen in the back end?
Dino, speaking of the women, you're on the water every week with a ladies' crew that do it purely for fitness. They don't actually race.
Yeah, we do a bunch of stuff down at Narrabeen Lake with this Paddle Fit AU group, and we take girls out that have just their first paddles, and I took a bunch of girls out on Thursday, and they're just loving it. They're loving getting out on the water. It's an after-school drop-off program, so they drop their kids to school, and then we get them out on the water, and they just really love getting out on the water.
And how can people get involved with that?
Contact me via oceanpaddler.com. Not Ocean Paddler TV.
So back live now, live pictures. And look at that. Look at them surf the swell. So talk us through what we're seeing there, Dean.
Yeah, so they're catching these that's probably a fairy wash they've caught there. So you can see those lumps of water, and those lumps of water are going to, if the steersman is in the right spot at the right time and the power's on at the right time, they're going to be able to catch those. And they'll get surges up to 16, 17 kilometres an hour of speed on those things. And depending on how steep and how long it goes for, they could go for tens or hundreds of metres. So... Yeah. Well, definitely an advantage.
That's what you've turned into an art form, is surfing those swells. I mean that seriously. There's no one better.
Well, I've only done it because I'm really lazy, so I try and find the easiest possible way to get from one point to the other.
So elapsed time at the moment, almost 39 minutes, and it's neck and neck with a lot of these crews, but Dana Green still in front, Hawaii Vacation, and then 37 seconds back to Northern Beaches. Mooloolaba 2, Mooloolaba 1, Noosa. Then Mooloolaba, that might be their senior crew, so they're around about 2.5 minutes behind. Then Outrigger Australia from Currumbin. Dana White is also inside the top 10, and the Sydney crew currently in 10th.
So those time gaps, 18 seconds, 37 seconds, that sounds like a lot, but, Dean, you'll agree with me, mate. It really only takes one or two of those runs that we're seeing come in there, and that can literally disappear within, 60 seconds.
Yeah, so, how good is this sport that, you can do that? It's not always that's going to win these things. It's quite often it's the smartest team that plays the best race or plays the best game. And if these girls that are coming second and third play a good game on the way home, they could get up and take over the Dana girls.
Virtually every boat at the moment averaging kind of around the 10 kilometre to maybe 11 kilometre mark. I'm watching the screen to see if their speed fluctuates, Dean. Like you said, that they might get up to 13 or 14 surfing a run.
Yeah, correct. And, that might only be for a brief moment, but it also gives you a relief. It takes the weight off the stroke and gives you a feeling of exhilaration, which might last for the next 5 or 10 minutes, and you only need one more of those and you're on your way home, and that's what makes this sport so exciting.
Let me ask you a key question, Jamie. What are your thoughts of that time, 1:46.28, that Northern Beaches laid down in the open mixed?
I know, that was incredible considering, I guess, the conditions last year weren't that favourable, and I think everyone's probably been working pretty hard on their technique and training, and they've come out here blasting today, so those times are pretty impressive.
Have you got a target time for your boat this afternoon?
Yeah, look, we haven't really focused too much on what our final time's going to be. Instead, we've more been focusing on timing, technique, going into the water together on our stroke, coming out of the water at the same time. So I think we're more sort of focused on our individual roles, and hopefully a good time comes as a result of all of that.
Dean, I mentioned before about the OC6, the famous boat you're in. Who are the stars of this sport? I asked Danny the same question, but have you got heroes in this sport worldwide?
The beauty of this sport is it's a team sport. So you can put as many good names in a boat as you want, and they might not necessarily go that well. So fortunately for us, we had a lot of big names in our boat, and we managed to go well, which was very lucky, but it doesn't always happen like that. So the more time you spend drilling the boat and making it work, the better the boat runs. And that's what's really significant about this sport compared to individual paddle sports.
Incredible what he said about the Polynesians or about the Tahitians, where they could fill 5 or 6 boats and there's people waiting to get a seat.
Yeah, maybe more so. The population base of paddlers over there is always going to make the top end pointier. So the bigger the base, the pointier the top. So,
and I guess from the Australian perspective, I mean, a lot of these Hawaiians and Tahitians, they're growing up in V1s and outrigger canoes, and the Australian kids, we're running around playing rugby union or rugby league. So we're I guess coming in from the perspective where we know we've got a lot to learn, and we're really looking at the Tahitian stroke and what the Hawaiians have been doing, and I guess aspiring to try and get out there today and keep up with those guys.
What do they do differently?
Oh, look, I think it's a natural feel for the boat. When you've been in the water for such a long time, you definitely develop a natural feel with the ocean that comes with time, and you really just got to put your bum in the seat and paddle to feel that natural ability in the water, and those guys have got that. So we definitely look to those guys for technique and look what they're doing, because they are the fastest crews going at the moment.
So Dean, probably looks like we might be getting close. Oh, there goes the ferry. What a great shot that is!
Awesome.
The Manly ferry on its way back from Circular Quay. And that is just an incredible shot beaming out to our worldwide audience. But looks like they might be getting close to Kirribilli.
Yes, that's correct. They're going past Robertson Point now on their way to Kirribilli. So, they're in the final stages of that first leg. So from Kirribilli, they've probably got 1 kilometre to go till turn.
Yep.
And this will be the point where they're going to get pushed down under the bridge with the incoming current.
Yeah, there's probably, once they've turned that corner around Bradley's Point as well, the wind kind of goes from the tail to more of a crosswind, but you can see that sort of headland or hill in the background there. So the wind's sort of going to be not quite as strong as what it was, but you do tend to get a lot more boat chop down around that area as well. So you can see them bouncing around. The majority of that's probably due to the other vessels out on the water.
So for our international audience, Kalai said earlier, but that's where the Prime Minister of Australia has a residence, in Kirribilli Avenue.
Yeah, that's correct, and you'll see that should come up on the screen in a second, right on Kirribilli Point, and a fantastic piece of land right there.
I think, boys, we saw boat 374, and a shout out to all of our friends watching in New Zealand. That's the East Coast Wahinis. So they're a senior master women's crew as we go to the graphic of the leaders as they get close to the Harbour Bridge. But that New Zealand crew, it's Sue Lefevre, Anne Leonard, Debbie Zanker, Marita Fataki, Linda Hagan, and Chris Carrott. So welcome to all of our New Zealand crews and numerous crews across all of the events today from NZ.
Yeah, definitely. It's fantastic. I mean, that's the appeal of this event, as, Australia's probably premier race. We're getting piles of crews coming over, the Hawaiians, the New Zealanders. That's what really, I guess, gives this race its flavour, I guess. It's from all of those crews that are participating.
It doesn't get much better than that.
Yeah.
So in the background, there it is. The Opera House opened in 1973. What a design. Absolutely incredible. Beamed all over the world.
So when you look at that shot, look at all the vessels out there and the different movements they're going to create. And the thing that makes it tougher in that particular area is that all the shoreline is walled, so everything gets reflected. So anything that's going in is going to come back out, and it creates a lot of movement.
I think that's what they call the money shot, right? That's it right there.
Yeah, absolutely.
Pause. Yeah, excellent.
So that's the International Passenger Terminal in the background as well. So just trying to pick up who that crew is, but on our graphic at the moment, can you update us on our top 10, Jamie?
Yeah, definitely. Look, we've got Dana Green coming in first. We've got Hawaii coming in second, followed by Northern Beaches, and it looks like there's about a 30-second spread there from first to third. We've got Mooloolaba 2, which is still in front of Mooloolaba 1. We've got Noosa, Mooloolaba, Outrigger Australia, and then Dana White, followed by Sydney. So that spread from first to third, first to 10th, looks like it's about a 3-minute spread now. So they're doing about 11 kilometres an hour now there at coming through for the Dana Green team. So yeah, they're still motoring, that's for sure.
By the way, that East Coast Wahinis, they're back in 14th place and they're about 4.5 minutes down. So the leaders really have put a gap on the rest of the field.
Yeah, definitely. It's starting to open up a little bit now. But, as we said earlier, once they do turn around there past sort of Luna Park and come back into that headwind, I think that's going to level the field a little bit. And, who knows what's going to happen at that leg of the race.
So 588, that is the Cronulla Open Women's team. So we're tracking with them at the moment. Boat 588. Renee Martin in that boat, Fiona Briggs, Sonia Jones, Catherine Walker, Monica Staling. And Carita is in seat number 1. Highly successful club, and they will challenge in the men's later on. So Cronulla, their Open Women, as another boat goes past. So you've got to navigate all this traffic, Dino, and you'll have to do that, or your race tomorrow will have to do the same thing.
Yeah. We start with the singles tomorrow. We start a little bit earlier than this, so we don't have so much movement on the water. But it's always there on Sydney Harbour, and it's a phenomenal piece of water to race on, because there's always something, even if there's no wind, no swell, there's always something going on out there. So it makes for a great event.
I guess the challenge is, when people start having a little bit of a look around in the boat, the call generally is eyes in the boat. But, when you're out on Sydney Harbour and all of this is happening around you, sometimes it is a little bit hard to keep the eyes in the boat. But, that's a challenge, I guess, particularly for some of the international crews who aren't used to seeing this awesome stuff every day.
So the elapsed time at the moment, 47 minutes and 30 seconds. So how far, Dean, do you think they are from the turning marker, which is down near Luna Park?
Yeah, I think they're within 2 or 3 minutes. If it depends where that boy's placed. If it's straight off Luna Park, they're only 200 or 300 metres from Luna Park right now, this crew that we're looking at on the television. So very, very close. You'll probably see them going under the coat hanger in a second. But this crew's a little bit further back. They've probably got about 1 kilometre to go, the one we're looking at now. And then you can see some crews right on the inside there. So those crews on the inside won't be getting advantage from that incoming current. So missing out a little bit on those inside sections.
So, Dean, looking at the numbers, their split time, if they turn in the next 3 to 4 minutes, 1 hour 46.28 was the winning time for Northern Beaches. They're laying down a fairly good race here if they turn in low 50s.
Yeah, remembering, of course, that they've got wind and current to fight going back. So they've had a great run up. They've had everything going with them going up. Now they've got to fight all that stuff going back. And look at that shot. That's a great shot of where you have to go to. And these two crews here, they're about 1.5 kilometres from the turning mark right there.
Are you daunted at all, Jamie, racing at 2 o'clock, knowing that, there could be a howling nor'easterly by then?
Oh, look.
Once you turn that marker down at Luna Park, then it's a battle all the way back.
Yeah, look, it will be. But we had a regatta at Bondi about 2 weeks ago, and the wind was coming in from the southeast, but it was literally a 35 knot wind coming down there. So that was a good sort of 10 knots stronger than what we're expecting today. But even still, in saying that, I think my team at Kayaka, we kind of like to dig deep into the wind in those situations, so we're not really intimidated by the wind at all. It's just a matter of staying long and slowing down the pace and just grunting it out, I guess.
The Sydney Harbour Challenge brought to you by Destination New South Wales, also AOCRA. Thank you also to Ocean Paddler Television and the streaming guys, and they are doing, as you know, Dino, bringing the pictures, doing an absolutely outstanding job.
What an amazing job Ocean Paddler TV do, you know, like they've really brought these ocean paddling sports to the people, you know, into people's lounge rooms, and you know, you don't always see what's going on out there. You might see the start or the finish, but this is where the action is. It's out in the middle of the ocean or it's out in the middle of the waterway, and by having this live streaming and having the television, it really makes it a better event for those that want to watch this sort of stuff.
Now, we saw the Hawaiians just a second ago, Team Vacation, and they'll compete in the IVF World Sprints in July this year, so this is a really important stepping stone for them. And boys, I guess it's great to have the Hawaiians here. There's no doubt about it. We'll see the Red Bull team, but also this team in the women's race, who are having a fantastic race, currently second in the event.
Yeah, look, it really is. You can see those teams there that are pushing through now. I'm not too sure who they are, but it's looking good. It's definitely looking good. But yeah, the Hawaiians are definitely going to be pushing through here, and it's definitely, you know, we're excited to have them on board.
Like you said, Dino, we've got a couple of crews there, and it looks like there might almost be a collision, and they spoke about that in the race briefing, that's a very real possibility.
Yeah, 100%. 100%. You can always, the boat in front generally has the advantage, so they have the right of way, so the boat passing has to pass.
Let's go to
Harbour Bridge. Halfway race here, Sydney Harbour Challenge, and we have our two leaders coming into the buoy here. Over the last few kilometers, the outrigger team from Oahu has come in and really kind of caught up to this Dana Point team that is in first place. What's interesting about this turn, now watch this crew go into this turn. These are two different boats. The team that outrigger has is a Matahina, that's a crew, a canoe from Tahiti. As you can see off the back, this boat really tracks nicely, but it's very hard to turn. And so these girls here are trying to do what they call a uni, where a lot of time the number one seat will stick her paddle in, almost steering from the front. The number two will reach over, pull water under the canoe to help bring that front around, assisting their steersman. But you can see how much wider of a turn they had to make, because not only the build of their canoe, but the wind that's pushing them off of this buoy is making that transfer. That's a much wider turn than we've seen these canoes make in the mixed race this morning. And so now you could see when they came into the turn, they were probably only a boat length back. Now they're about 1.5 boat lengths back. But I would say over the last several kilometers, outrigger has closed on Dana Point. This is our third place crew from Northern Beaches. This is my surprise crew, and I'm loving what these ladies do. Remember again that the team from Northern Beaches won the mixed race this morning, but you can see again, although this canoe paddles really nicely in the open water, to make it do a 180 turn because of its design is a little more difficult. But these ladies are making it happen, and I think the advantage that they're getting from having that canoe in the rest of the race is more than made up for by the way that it turns are on this 180 buoy right here. So we're going to be repositioning ourselves a little closer to the buoy. We're getting blown off again by these northern winds. And so now these ladies have had a bit of a downwind section here coming into the turn, but now they're going to turn around and be heading up into it all the way home. And so this is where we're going to see how much fuel they have left in the tank as far as getting themselves back to the finish. We have an interesting battle heating up between first and second place for this race. So we're going to reposition ourselves, throw it back to you folks in the studio, but it's starting to get exciting here for the women's race. We're again at the halfway point at Luna Park, Sydney Harbour Bridge, Opera House. For all of you that we're going to see next year paddling here at 2019 Sydney Harbour Challenge, these are the things you're going to tour around on your days off, because it's a beautiful place to be here in Sydney, Australia. And again, thanks to Destination New South Wales for supporting this race. And man, their job over at Destination New South Wales might be pretty easy. This city is an easy sell, baby. It's a beautiful place. Again, we're coming back up on our buoy. We'll be right back with you.
Yeah, thank you again, Kalai. How good is he? I mean, the camera loves him, and he's doing a sensational job out there right near Luna Park with the update.
Yeah, what a fantastic description just then, you know. So the guys have paddled 11 kilometres, and they might get a 5-second advantage over the crew behind them, but if they mess their turn up, they've lost it. So that's what I was saying about those smart races. You know, you play a smart race coming back, and you don't have to work your ring out for 11 kilometres to make a 5-second advantage. You do it on your turn, or you do it on playing a little game that's slightly different to the others.
Well, that gap was narrowed slightly between the front two on the turn, so it's come back into 14 seconds, but then there's a real gap back to the Northern Beaches. So they're 1 minute 10 behind Dana Green. So this team from Catalina have been absolutely outstanding so far and pretty much have led from the start.
Pushing hard from the front all the way. Yeah, exactly. No, look, and that's what we'll see. You know, we'll turn the corner. They're going to feeling the lactic acid start to sort of build over the next probably, 5Ks. So it's just going to be a matter of, I guess, staying true to their technique and not rushing or getting overexcited and just finishing strong. So hopefully they can hang in there.
Dean, what changes with your stroke on the way back? Like if you're punching into the chop and the headwind, does anything change? Do you keep lengthening? Do you try to lengthen out as much, or do you change your stroke?
Yeah, if you can lengthen out, you can, but you definitely try and slow it down. So, they're obviously big boats to pull, and there's 6 people in them, so it does take a lot of effort to make those things move along. But going into the wind is more about just finding the perfect technique together, making sure the timing is spot on, and spending the same amount of time in the water with the paddle and the same grunt at exactly the right time, and the boat will start to lift and it'll start to move into that water a lot better.
I tell you, you can see there's a big gap at the moment. There's crews on their way back, and there's some that haven't even reached that turning marker. In fact, the top 7 are through the marker. 7th place is Mooloolaba. That's one of their senior teams. So they're 4 minutes and 3 seconds behind the Californians. So there's a 14-second gap between 1 and 2. Northern Beaches, 1 minute 10 behind. Then, Jamie, you've got a couple of Mooloolaba teams. Mooloolaba 2 still ahead of Mooloolaba 1, but Mooloolaba 1, they're 3 minutes back.
Yeah, definitely. So there's a big gap there, so I'm not quite too sure what's been happening there. But I think, the beauty of this sport is, it really is for everyone. And sometimes a few of the teams or the crews that are coming in at the back of the back of the race, don't get quite as much as a mention. So I think we probably should give a good shout out to the Kowakai guys. They're an awesome team that are, down on the south side that we've got a great relationship with. We've got the Hong Kong team that's also, what an awesome effort for those guys to make the journey to come over and join in with the race. We've got a Noosa team in there, another Singapore team. We've got another Noosa team followed by yet another Singapore. So that's awesome that those guys have decided to join us.
You're spot on. We've seen quite a few shots of Noosa, their Masters women. So they're currently in 18th place. Midamataga from NZ, they're in 16th. Cronulla, so their women's team is in 15th. The East Coast Wahinis, who we mentioned from NZ, so they're currently in 14th, but they still haven't reached that turning marker. In fact, we're seeing pictures, that's Luna Park now in the famous North Sydney swimming pool. So
that's it, Milson's point there. So it's great to see that we're at this stage of the race because, of course, last year due to the weather, we had to turn the races back at Taronga Zoo, so we didn't actually get to see this end of the course. So it's fantastic now that we're down there and we're getting these awesome visuals. And again, a big shout out to the cameramen out there today. They're doing a fantastic job. The footage from the boats and the drone footage has been spectacular. So well done. We're getting some awesome visuals to share with everybody there.
I just saw a Red Bull shirt. So one of the superstars from the Red Bull men's team is in the house, and looking forward to seeing them in action a little bit later on. By the way, if you're watching from overseas and you're just absolutely gobsmacked, this event brought to you by Destination New South Wales. We heard before, Dean mentioned the coat hanger. That is the Sydney Harbour Bridge. It is just incredible. Harbour Bridge opened in 1932. It's 134 metres, or 439 feet. There's 1,390 stairs, and it's just over a kilometre long.
I haven't actually had the pleasure of going over the top yet, but it's definitely something that a lot of the tourists that come over enjoy doing.
Well, my son, he's 18. He had a friend come out from Hawaii, and that's the first thing they did was climb the bridge. And Ava absolutely loved it. And what a photo moment that is.
100%. What a way to start his trip. That's awesome.
Just before, when we were going through the list there, the race list, it was interesting to see Hong Kong and Singapore. You know, that Dennis Sazek from Singapore has done an amazing job up there with the paddling group up there. I was fortunate to be up there last year to do a training clinic, and they had, 50 to 60, 70 people on the water for their paddling group. It's just Dennis has done such an amazing job up there with the paddling group.
So, Jamie, you're about to depart, mate, to get ready. So
It's time.
You're in for a massage. You're just under 2 hours from race time.
Beautiful. No, look, it's good time just to start focusing in now, get the head in the zone, and hopefully we have a great race.
Good luck, mate.
Good to see you, buddy.
Yeah, you too.
Thanks again. Well done. Best wishes. And we're about to bring in Guy Wilding. So a little change over here. Look at that. That's seamless on our live coverage. Hope you're enjoying it wherever you are around the world, the 5th annual Sydney Harbour Challenge. I'm Steve Allen. Alongside me,
G'day, mate.
The great Dean Gardner, absolute legend of the sport, 10-time Molokai winner. And Guy, great to see you. Give us your thoughts of what's unfolded so far. So Northern Beaches winners of the open mix, but we're seeing a fantastic race here with the Californians out in front.
Well, it's interesting to watch the race unfold because the California girls race in these sort of conditions all the time. So it's right up their alley, and they're a great crew. The crew from Outrigger, Hawaii, I actually coached them for a couple of years, so I know all these girls really well. And they're a very, very strong crew. They're a great surfing crew, but they're very fit. They all do the one-man series in Hawaii. They're all in great shape. So I think coming back home, punching into it, it's going to be a great finish.
Dean mentioned about Catalina. Can you tell us about conditions around there?
Yeah, it's Catalina's an interesting race because it's obviously from the island of Catalina, the men race back to the mainland, but the women actually race from the mainland out to Catalina, and the conditions generally are pretty tough. Like they're pushing into the swell and the wind, and it's a great race. The water's cold. It's a changes race, so they're changing paddlers in and out of the canoe. But it's a really tough race, and these Dana Point girls do really well in these conditions.
If you're changing out of the canoe, you probably wouldn't want to be in the water for too long. A lot of marine life around there?
There is a lot. I've done the race a few times myself, and there is a lot of marine life in the water. And the water's also very, very cold, so you don't want to be in there very long anyway.
Have you done that race, Dean?
I have not done it on an outrigger. I've actually paddled it on a ski in a race that the Marina Del Rey Rowing Club run.
So 1 hour and 2 minutes is the elapsed time, and this Dana Green team are powering home. But you said about the Hawaiians. Tell us more. So you coached their crew?
I coached the crew for a couple of years at the Outrigger Canoe Club. All these girls are great one-man paddlers. Amy Lawson, who's one of the I think she's steering the boat. I didn't see the footage, but she's an all-round water woman. She does everything: stand-up, surf ski, one-man, paddleboard. And does Molokai every year in the OC1. A very, very talented lady, as all the girls are in that boat. They're all very good paddlers.
So we're still watching some of the back markers, some of the senior crews on their way toward that turning marker. So, and being tracked by a ferry at the moment as well. But the girls with 1 hour and 3 minutes gone, averaging, well, they're fluctuating at the moment around 10 kilometres an hour.
Yeah, I don't know what the tide's doing, but if it's dropped down to 10 kilometres an hour, I'd say they're pushing tide. And the wind's going to be in their face. But, these top half dozen crews, they're in great condition, obviously. They're pushing hard. So I don't think they're going to slow down too much.
Dean, we spoke before about stroke rating. You thought that maybe they might be up. I mean, you had a fast stroke rate, didn't you?
Yeah, when we used to paddle, we had a relatively fast stroke rate compared to the others. And I don't recall what it was exactly, but I know it was slightly faster than some of the other crews going around, and I think that was because most of the guys that I paddled with came from surf ski or kayak, where you are rating a lot faster, and you've obviously got a double blade in those boats, so it's more of a tut 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 compared to an outrigger, which is a more of a grunty stroke. So right now, especially these girls under the bridge, you just want to be concentrating on getting the paddle cleanly in the water and making sure your timing's on, because there's enough outside influence with regards to chop and backwash and boat wash that's going on there that you want to keep the boat as still as possible.
has the technology of the paddle changed much over the years? Like in the ski paddling in surf clubs, it used to be a teardrop, or it was even a square blade back in the early days. How's that changed?
Yeah, there's been significant changes in that, and the most significant was back in the late 80s when the winged paddle came in, and that's obviously the paddle of choice for all the paddlers now. Outriggers use a flatter blade, but that's because you're swapping sides, and you can't actually have the wing on that, and you don't need the feather to go back into the wind on the other side of the paddle. So, they're only using one-sided paddle. So, the paddle that the outrigger paddlers use is perfect for that particular style of boat. It's obviously a bigger paddle than a double-bladed paddle because you're putting all your effort into one side. So, it makes these boats move along nicely. And you can see these girls here, the timing's impeccable. It's spot on, and they're doing a good job back into the current and the wind there now.
So at the moment, we can tell you that 27 crews, we saw some still going around that marker buoy. So 27 crews have gone around, and one of the New Zealand teams is at Ruamata. They went around. They're 12 minutes and 53 minutes behind the leader, 12 minutes, 53 seconds. Still waiting on a Singapore crew, a Pittwater crew.
So to put that into perspective, 12 minutes doing 10 kilometres an hour, it's a fair gap, You're 10 kilometres an hour, you're doing 5K, you're doing 6K an hour, 6-minute kilometres.
Yep.
So they're 2 kilometres behind. So that's a significant distance.
It sounds like you've got to be Pythagoras to work that out. Guy, who are you coaching these days?
I actually just finished up coaching with Outrigger, and I'm over paddling with Lanakai now, and I'm not coaching this year. I'm just enjoying the paddling myself.
And if you work with the Hawaiian girls, is that who you're cheering for here? We're seeing they're 14 seconds behind Dana Green at the moment.
It's a great crew, the Outrigger Hawaii crew. Dana's a great crew. I know some of the girls from Northern Beaches, and they've been training hard too. It's going to be interesting to see how it unfolds, but it's going to be a dogfight all the way.
So 1 hour and 7 minutes. Still watching a few of the back markers. We can see,
these girls here are doing exactly the right thing. See that second crew? They're just sitting in behind that front crew. The front crew's taking the edge off the chop for them and helping suck that second crew along. I think they might even be from the same club, so they might be working together there.
Hope you're enjoying the coverage, and that is Kirribilli on your left there. So I think Dean mentioned earlier Kirribilli House, which is the residence of the Australian Prime Minister, Malcolm Turnbull, who's currently overseas at the moment. So up on that headland there, if you look up to the left of your picture, there it is. So it's right at so that is Kirribilli there, and you'll see a massive home on a substantial piece of land.
Yeah, just right where those trees are in that previous shot, and it's just a magnificent place. The camera's not quite making it that far to the right, but it's just off to the right there now.
So what do you think will unfold with, this is a great race. Our first race of the day, there was 5 minutes 46 between the first boat and the next boat that crossed the line, but we could have a photo finish between these two crews.
Yeah, I think it's pretty certain we will. But the race this morning, the Northern Beaches crew that won the event and won it quite handily, they stacked that crew with the best paddlers they've got with the intention of winning. And so a lot of those people are backing up in later races. So, it's a tough day out doing this course twice.
So we've heard stacked crew, Dean.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts?
I love a stacked crew. Especially if they put me in it. So they're on their way back to Athol Bay now, so heading back towards the zoo. That's where that boat's parked.
Wow. Wow, that just looks absolutely amazing. Dean, you saw that when you were crossing the Bass Strait. You saw a tanker while the boys were paddling across the strait. And, that just looks incredible, doesn't it?
Yeah, it's deceptive how fast those things move. Doing 25 knots, a big vessel like that, it comes upon you so quickly, and you think you've got time, and then suddenly it's right there, and fortunately it didn't run us over, but it can do. So you just got to keep your eye out on those things.
This is the Sydney Harbour Challenge. Wherever you are around the world, hope you're enjoying our telecast today. And at the moment, it's the Californians out in front in the women's race, Dana Green, closely followed by the Hawaiians. And we do this all thanks to AOCRA, also Ocean Paddler Television, the streaming guys who have done a fabulous job, and Destination New South Wales. We're back in just a few moments after a word from our sponsors.
The Sydney Harbour Challenge is made possible by the New South Wales Government via its Tourism and Major Events Agency, Destination New South Wales. AOCRA, the Australian Outrigger Canoe Racing Association. Produced by Ocean Paddler TV, dedicated to the sport and culture of outrigger canoeing. And co-produced by The Streaming Guys. You are now live. Don't forget to share with your friends on social media this exciting live coverage of the 2018 Sydney Harbour Challenge.
Sydney, surrounded by pristine national parks, riverways, stunning water views, iconic beaches, and coastal walks from the north to the south, all with the beautiful harbour at its heart. You'll love every second of Sydney. Discover more at sydney.com.
Around the world, it's the Sydney Harbour Challenge 2018. I'm Steve Allen. Dean Gardner, the 10-time Molokai winner. I never get tired of saying that, and I've had the pleasure of paddling with you over the years, and what a legend of the sport. And Guy Wilding with us, now based in Hawaii, and you were just saying your son is at UCLA.
Yeah, he's transferring to UCLA this year. He was going to another college in Southern California, but transferring to UCLA, yeah.
UCLA, the water polo champions in the NCAA in 2017.
Unbelievable water polo program. Actually, most of the college programs at the big schools like UCLA, USC, and the other Los Angeles-based colleges, they're very powerful. They attract the best from around the world.
Yeah, so it was UCLA versus Jovan Vavic and his USC side in the NCAA final. Yep. We're back live now with the women's, and it's the Californian crew, Dana Green. Dana Green out in front, just trying to see what the... So it's still telling us that 14 seconds is the margin between the Californians and the Hawaiians in our open women's race. So there's a race within a race. So we're back seeing live pictures now. And how are they looking to you, Dean?
This crew looks particularly tired at that point, but as I said, that's the point where they're going to get really hit by that wind and the current there. So... you might feel fresh getting to this point right here, but once you get around this is going to be the long slug, 4 kilometres up towards Middlehead and Dobroyd, and then once you get through there, you start to get into the protection of Manly, and you see that you start seeing the wharf and the finish line, and that gives you a little boost as well. So if there's any ocean movement out on the water, it'll be coming between the heads, so that's in that last sort of 3K, and that's when they'll start to get some advantage from ocean swell and some of the stuff coming through.
So at the moment you can actually see, you can literally see on the GPS that speeds are dropping. So the leader's still holding around that 10 kilometre mark, but you can see some of the crews that are midfield dropping down to maybe averaging 9 kilometres and now 8 kilometres. So that shows... I mean, there is evidence how hard it is coming back.
Yeah, for sure. And there is a shallow section just after Bradley's Head too. So any any chop that's coming from the north is just going to stand up there and really, really slow the boats down. So they've just got to be conscious of keeping that shallow section to their left and staying in the deeper water where they'll move a bit quicker.
Race timing, 1 hour and 14 minutes. So let's update the field. If you're waiting to see and you haven't seen your family and friends and loved ones, so Dana Green in front. Hawaii, Vacation in second place. Northern Beaches, 1 minute 10 behind. Mooloolaba 2, 1 minute 49 behind the leaders. Mooloolaba 1, 3 minutes and 8 seconds. So fantastic job by the Queenslanders. Noosa, 3 minutes and 45. So that's a senior women's team by the look of it, Guy. Mooloolaba. So this is the race within a race. So Mooloolaba, their senior team, is 4 minutes and 3. So there's 18 seconds between first and second in that event. So very tight. And that's followed, in fact, it's all Queenslanders. Noosa, Mooloolaba and Outrigger Australia. They're battling it out for top 3 in the senior category.
Well, it's incredible that a Senior Masters women's crew is that far up in the field. Noosa doing really, really well there. And it's tough. You can see they're pushing into the wind and the swell, and they're having to work really hard. They're tired after finishing more than half the race. So this is tough on the way home. And, you know, a lot of these women doing this race, and I'm included, aren't as young as we used to be. So this is tough heading back into this.
So Noosa, boat 424 is Rhonda Crockford, Sandra Kennedy, Ellie Sinclair Guy, Deidre Mooney, Jackie Barnes and Chris Mitchell. So that's their gold Masters women. And, of course, the large senior club. The Mercers, they're at Noosa these days. Has Darren been involved?
Not that I know of, but I'm sure somewhere along the line these girls would have crossed paths with Darren. He's a magnificent coach, and he coaches a wide variety of water sports up there. You can see the leaders now. They've made that turn. So this is the part that I was talking about. If you're looking up ahead there's that stick, that long pole. That's where the shallow water is. So this inside crew might find they might get a little bit of drag going across there. And then the girls on the outside are getting a bit of advantage of running that boat wash there. So I don't know if the GPS is telling the right thing. These guys look a lot closer than 14 seconds.
Yeah, it's down to 5 seconds. It's breaking news. So for our audience here outside the marquee, it's now a 5-second gap, and we're going to our support boat very shortly. So 5 seconds, and Dino tactically, as we saw just a second ago, one's taken an inside run near that shallow water, and it is back to 5 seconds. So, wow, haven't we got a race on our hands in the open women?
Isn't it funny how that for the most part down, there was an 18-second gap after the turn. It stayed at 14 seconds until right now, and the girls in second place, the Outrigger girls, look like they're really starting to make a move. There will be some significant points in this race where they can go a wider or a shallower line, and that's your 5 seconds or 10 seconds right there. So, as I said earlier, the people that play the right game here can really make a big difference in what they're going to do in this race.
So 1 hour 17 gone now. Watching the GPS, they're heading for home, Dean, and no one knows this water better than you. How far do you think they are from the finish line?
They're about right now. They're about 6 kilometres from the finish line, 6 to 7 kilometres. So it's a tough part of the race, you know, and it's also the most exposed part of the race for them. So, especially with this wind and the current. So this is where the inbound current and the wind are going to be the strongest, and it's also the least exciting part of the race. So if there's a boring part on this race, I would call this part the boring part, because it's a long slog, and it's not until you get to Middle Head, which you can see you start to see in the distance, that the race becomes a lot more exciting.
So some of the speeds have actually dropped to 6 kilometres an hour. You can see how choppy that is as they head for home, and what a finish this is going to be. Let me ask both of you guys this. Dino, no one knows these waters better than you. Where would you make your move? Like, where are you planning to up the tempo and really go for home?
So in that particular section there, you could see a headland in the distance. That was George's Head. So if the current's coming in, it's going to be on your right-hand side. So it might be a good idea for that crew there to duck further to the left to get out of the current, and also they'll be a little bit protected from the chop in a little bit closer. So this is where you'd start thinking what to do not so much from a power perspective, but more so from being a smart racer perspective, and just whipping in on the inside there could make a significant difference if the other crew is further out in the current and in the chop.
Guy, as a coach, they just looked superb just then. Synchronicity, they looked absolutely fantastic. We're watching a head-on shot here now.
Well, it was interesting. Dean mentioned earlier about the Outrigger Hawaii crew ducking in and drafting on the Dana Point crew, and they did until they came around Bradley's Head into the shallower water, and then they made a move through the shallower section, and they picked up the tempo. As you say, their timing is very, very good. They're strong in the water, moving the boat together very well, and it's still anybody's race. But they did make a big move there.
With those two teams, would they see each other often? Do they meet on the international circuit, or is this kind of a once-off for them at this time of the year?
Well, the last couple of years, Dana Point have done very well in the Catalina race. Outrigger haven't been there. Outrigger have done very well in the Molokai, the Ngawahini Oke Kai. Dana Point did race there this year, and I think they were 6th, and Outrigger Hawaii were 3rd. But they don't meet each other that often, and they tend to do all their local races but not race terribly much internationally. So it's great to have crews of this calibre here racing in Sydney Harbour, and the local crews like Northern Beaches are doing very, very well against them.
As a lover of the sport, are you excited that the World Championships are coming down under?
Look, every time a world-class event comes to Australia, Australia always does a great job. We've had a couple of World Championships here before in the Outrigger, and the big Mooloolaba club has run the World Championships, and people have said that attended those World Championships was the best they've ever seen, they've ever attended. So I've no doubt when they're down here again, they'll do a great job again.
Outside the marquee, Dean, I'm seeing more and more Red Bull shirts. This superstar crew is with us, and we've got to throw an aloha out there, I guess, and a warm welcome to you guys. Can't wait to see you in action later on. The gap, 5 seconds is what we're being told. Shortly we'll go to Kalai out on the boat, and what a finish we've got coming up here, because in our first race of the day, Northern Beaches were emphatic in their victory. So let's go to the water. Kalai is there for the latest update.
Hi. All right, welcome back to the boat at Sydney Harbour, and I don't know what you were able to see in studio right there, but we've had an incredible change of the lead as we came around Bradley's Point. Firstly, going into that turn buoy before Bradley's Point, for some reason, the steerswoman from Dana Point lost her blade. Whether she was changing to another paddler or what, we don't know. She lost her blade. Interestingly enough, Amy Woodward from Outrigger was somehow so close behind her, able to pick up the blade and save it for her. So that was kind of a cool little thing to happen. As they came around Bradley's Head, and especially coming out of Bradley's Head, they got into this wind that you can see is blowing through my long flowy hair right now, but there's a lot more wind up here. There's a lot of uphill happening, and there was a little bit of bump between the canoes, and hopefully Keizo caught that on the drone. But man, it was exciting. There was a lead change. It looked like Dana Point was thrown off a little bit. The girls of Outrigger were able to capitalize, and the interesting part about that is that now, as you can tell, if you look back probably over this shoulder, you can see that Outrigger's dropped probably a 2 or 3 boat length lead over Dana Point. Now, not by a long shot is Dana Point out of this race. These girls are tough, they're experienced. I'm sure they've been in a similar situation before. They know how to set in and how to grind it out into the finish here. But this Outrigger team is looking, if you look at their stroke, and I don't know if you can see it in your computer, but this Outrigger team, their stroke is nice and long and deep. They're quick to the recovery. They got a lot of paddle time in the water, and that's the type of stroke you want when you're grinding uphill. It allows you to get a nice long pull in there. You're quick to the recovery, and that's what you want going into these headwinds. If you look back at Dana Point, their stroke is a little quicker, but these girls are strong, and like I said, they're far from out of it. There's a bunch more drama yet to unfold as we get into Manly Cove. But I'll tell you what, an exciting change of events like there, and if you're going to change the lead, there's no better way to do it. You're coming around a corner. These girls had a little bit of banging going on between the boats. There was a bit of confusion. Amy Woodward set her team told her stroker Hoku Keala to just keep going right here, be smooth. And right now these girls are just grinding it out. And from here over the next several kilometers, it's basically just going to be a slugfest. It's going to be a battle of who's the tougher women out there. And so we're coming up on Middlehead again here. This is the rough part of the harbor with that outside swells coming in. We got the headwind, a lot of completely different dynamic kind of than what they had on their way down. And this is where the tough girls separate themselves from the rest of the pack. And you can see these two are hanging together, but to my eye, Outrigger right now is just looking really smooth. They're in their zone. They're paddling together beautifully. Watch the top hands. Watch how the blades are coming in and out of the water. To paraphrase Johnny Puakea, timing isn't just about coming in and out together. It's about your whole stroke coming together. The way your bodies are moving forward. The way that your blades are sitting, your shaft is sitting, the movement of the top hand. You can tell that these girls have been putting in a lot of time together. And it shows right here, and that's just beautiful paddling. Again, Dana Point, they're still far from out of it. Those girls are grinding out. They're tough, they're strong, they're looking good as well. But I will say that these two canoes are really separating themselves from the rest of the field. Third place is quite a ways back there. That's going to be Northern Beaches, who was looking strong themselves. They're my outside of the box, my dark horse in this race. I'm loving their performance. They're doing good. They're holding strong in third place, and right behind them is Mooloolaba. I believe that's Mooloolaba White. Now Mooloolaba White, Blue, and their Masters team, they got 3 crews that I believe are probably in the top 10, if not the top 8. So a pretty strong showing from that Mooloolaba club, as always, here at the Sydney Harbour Challenge. We're going to continue to follow some of these lead boats as they come around the different points here, heading into Manly Cove. But, I know you just had Guy Wilding over there in the studio. Want to send him 2 shakas and a house it, but this is exciting stuff. Paddling is not always easy to make it to a spectator sport, but when we have these type of developments, this type of lead change, these girls just working hard out here and making it exciting, and we're able to bring it to you live, man, I'm telling you right now, I'm excited. Almost as excited as I was at this past year's Molokai Hoi, but we'll talk about that later. But these girls are making it happen right here. You are tuned in for one heck of a race, and we still have the men's race to come after this, so we're going to enjoy the performance that this Outrigger team is laying down right here as we head into Manly Cove. Stick with us. Beautiful paddling. That's all I can say. Beautiful paddling, beautiful place.
So, back live now in the studio, and the Hawaiians have hit the front of this. Some Hawaiians outside our marquee that want to make some noise for their girls team that have hit the lead. Absolutely incredible. What a race this has been. We're at 1 hour 27 elapsed time, and just looking at those pictures, it looks like they've upped the rating and they've maybe stretched their advantage. Would you agree, Dean?
Yeah, and before we were talking about, right at the start of the race, we were talking about did Dana Point go out too hard, and right now you would say, yeah, they probably did, and they were trying to get the advantage of the downwind and the down current, and it looked like the Outrigger girls just sat in there behind them and bided their time and then went for it around Bradley's Head. So if that was their race plan, they've played it well. So. And
Guy, there was a double shaka thrown out at you from Kalai on the support boat.
He's a good man. He's a good man. I see him a lot in Hawaii. They cover the races, all the race series in Hawaii, and he does a great job.
So Kakoa is about to come in and join us from the Red Bull team this afternoon. I think we're going to try to do that seamless transition that we normally do. Let's welcome him in, ladies and gentlemen. Kakoa from the Red Bull team. Thanks to Guy Wilding for joining us in the studio setup. And this is our 3rd or 4th transition of the day. Let's see if it's seamless like the previous ones. Out goes Guy. In comes Kakoa. Good to see you.
G'day.
Welcome to Sydney. And the Hawaiians have hit the front in this women's race. It's been outstanding so far. Welcome, my friend. How are you feeling ahead of racing in an hour and a half?
Excited to be here, definitely. I'm first time to Australia, so I'm pretty stoked and excited to be here and participate in this unreal international event.
So we're seeing the Red Bull shirts out there. Tell us who's in your crew.
Stroking us, we have Caleb Freitas, and in C2 we have Kainoa Tanawai, Trey Cox, Keakua, Nolan, me sitting in 5, and our steersman Hamaku from Tahiti.
And tell us about your crew. Like, what's been on the agenda so far in 2018? And you target this race. I mean, it's a massive event, biggest race in the Southern Hemisphere. And what's on for the rest of the year for you?
We pretty much use this race as a Kickstarter to get into the 6-man mode. We are in the middle of full swing for OC1 back in Hawaii. So we had to strategically plan 6-man season. Better?
So just adjusting microphones here. We're back and we're seeing live pictures now, Kakoa. And you'd be delighted the Hawaiian girls have hit the front. And they're on their way home now with an hour and a half gone in the women's race. It says to us that it's a 5-second advantage, but it looked like it might be a little bit more than that and look like they're coming home strongly now.
I might be a bit biased. Those girls are all my friends. I'm lucky enough to see them on a regular basis back at home in Hawaii. But those Dana girls are super strong for sure. I mean, they always put on a clinic up in Catalina, and they're super good. So, I mean, like Kalei said, you can't count them out for sure, but go Hawaii.
So I've seen video footage of you guys racing in huge mountainous ocean swells, and it's a lot about your culture and about family and tradition. How are you feeling about racing here today? And what do you think about the conditions in Sydney?
Back home in Kona, we actually been getting pretty lucky with similar conditions where we're used to flat water conditions. And these last couple of weeks has been really weird winds with storms and stuff. So we've actually had some upwind paddles, some downwind paddles. And I think we should be pretty confident in the conditions out there. I mean, it would be great to get out there and catch some big bombs. It's always fun, but sometimes you got to do work and grind it out, yeah.
So you're from Kona where they hold the Ironman Triathlon,
Definitely,
the World
yep.
Championship?
I'm originally from Nanakuli, Oahu, and I moved to Big Island 2 years this year. And I was fortunate enough to make some good friends along the way in my paddling career, and those friends turned into family, and now I get to paddle with, luckily, one of the best teams in the world.
Dean Gardner, they're on their way for home now. Whereabouts exactly are they? I'm sure you know exactly where they are on the compass.
Yeah, so they're just coming up to Middlehead. So this is the run home. This is where the most movement will occur on the water. Any swell that's around in the ocean will be coming in this point because it's the opening into Sydney Harbour. You can see that the front girls have just gone past there now and are making their move. So it should be pretty good to see what happens over this next bit. And it's the swell will be carrying you straight in towards Manly. So there's about a kilometre to go to Middlehead. They've just gone past Robinson's, and this is the nudist beach that we spoke about before. There's a lot of bouncy water around here. So if they go in close there, they're going to be out of the current. They're still going to cop the wind a fair bit, but this is a very important part of the race.
It's the second time you've mentioned that for our worldwide audience. It seems like you're fascinated by this beach.
Yeah, well, we tend to paddle past it a little bit, and there's a couple of people hanging it all out down there, so it's pretty interesting to watch at times. But yeah, you can see the girls working hard there now. That looks like that Senior Masters Noosa crew who just seem to be hanging in that 6th spot, so they're doing a fantastic job.
Kakoa, how many times a week are you in the boat?
We try to get in the boat at least 3 times a week, at least at this point. And then eventually, the heavier we go into the 6-man season, we get as much time, almost 6 days a week, putting in twice a day. And yeah.
What are your best wins, my friend? What are your best victories that you've had?
Shoot, that's a hard one. Making it here, this is my first time. It's a victory for me already, just being here. So I'll count this as a victory. First time to Australia. My Lolo was fun last year. I wasn't a part of that team per se, but I mean, I was with the team for the whole journey, and that entire experience was just eye-opening. You know what I mean? Make personal connections with our friends down south and learn their style of paddling. It was a super humbling experience, so that's definitely the biggest victory for me.
So the Hawaii speed again, Dean. Like I'm seeing. Averaging 9 kilometres. You can see it now. at the moment.
At the start of the race, this starts starting to light back now. For the boys race back on, it's going to be, you're going to be seeing regular white caps compared to what we're seeing now. So, and the reason I think that some of the girls at the back are still doing so well speed-wise is because they haven't gone around Bradley's head yet, and they're not in this game. Once you get in, I think you can just about expect to make at least maybe 2 to 3 kilometres off your speed. So, you can see these fat girls are definitely getting hit by that drop, and then the line current that's underneath that as
Aloha, I'm Kala'i Miller and welcome to Ocean Paddler. On today's episode, we head down under for the Sydney Harbour Challenge presented by Hawaiian Airlines. This is Australia's largest, most competitive and most international 6-man outrigger canoe paddling event. Outrigger canoe paddling has become a staple in Australian ocean sports, and with almost 150 6-paddler teams in attendance, the starting line was sure to be crowded and the competition intense.
Any goals?
I mean, definitely the end goal is always to put our best effort, right?
We lost the feed.
Oh, we're good?
So we're back live. We lost the feed just momentarily. Steve Allen alongside Nick Kakoa from the Red Bull Racing Team. What are your mini goals heading into this? What do you want to do well at the start of the race?
Of course, the end goal is always to just make sure we leave the water knowing that we gave everything we had, right? I mean, we're going to have races within the race and take that as it comes. But, I mean, we have just a general goal of get out, find each other, find our blend, find our rhythm, and then start our racing from there, you know what I mean?
Have you got a hero in the boat in this?
My heroes. Yeah, definitely. All these guys are amazing athletes, and I get to be lucky enough to train with these guys and see the level that they're at, and it's continues to push me harder and harder every day, you know what I mean?
Give us your analysis on what you're seeing at the moment.
Time, quick recovery. They look really good. A lot better than a lot of people that are just learning and
I think you.
So it must be an amazing feeling for you guys, because you guys feel it more than most crews when you get that timing right and you get the boat just singing along and the steersman's managing to paddle all the time. It's an amazing feeling when the boat's doing that, and as I said, you guys probably get that more than most crews, so that's what makes you win. So for the people that are watching this, you can see these girls have got perfect timing, and the steersman is steerswoman is paddling a lot, which means that's another paddle that's pushing the boat forward. So when the steers person has to steer more, it's dragging on the boat, and then you've got 5 people paddling. So when that steers person's got their paddle in the water, the boat sings a lot better.
Yeah, it's kind of indescribable there, and it's like being in a barrel when you're surfing. I mean, you just want that feeling to stay forever.
So we saw an orange boat a moment ago. That's a Hong Kong crew, 367. So it's Catherine Townsend. This is an open women's team. Lorraine Asper, Rachel Mosen, Eleanor Story, and Heather Hutchings in boat 367. Open women's team from Hong Kong. Just trying to track where they are actually in the field. But, gee, I'm loving the look of this.
Yeah, Hong Kong, like Singapore, they've got an amazing paddling culture up there that, when we think of this style of paddling, we tend to think about Hawaii, Australia, South Africa, and those sorts of Tahiti, those sorts of regions. But, there's all dragon boats in the Asian countries, and a lot of those have made the transition to these various other paddle sports, and they're doing fantastic.
Have you got a team leader?
We have a couple captains, yeah.
Tell us about them.
Kua is a captain, Kainoa is a captain, and Daniel Chun, who's actually on vacation right now and paddling in the cold snow up in the mainland. Those guys are the guys we look up to every day at practice. They're always pushing the limits and make us better ourselves, you know.
So for you, how many training sessions a week? How many times on the water? How many times in the gym? And is it almost like a for you?
You could say that. I mean, our lives have definitely revolved and transferred over to putting a lot of time and effort into this sport. We're so grateful that Red Bull took a risk and putting the investment into such a small sport, and we just kind of took it to the heart where if they're going to give us their all, we got to give it their all, you know what I mean? And every morning, every night, if we're not dealing with family or work, we're in the water with each other, training, lifting, running, swimming, paddling. It's pretty much a full-time job, yep.
So, Dino, GPS is telling us that they're about to turn this headland and they're in the home straight. Is that what you're seeing?
Yes, that's Middle Head right there, and they can see Manly now. So they've got less than 4 kilometres to go, so they're well on their run home now. And as I said, this is the point where they may get some advantage from any swell that's pushing in. And now also, which is a huge advantage to them, is they're not going to be in the current anymore because the current wants to head towards Sydney, and they're now out of that part of the water. So now they've just got chop to deal with, and as they get closer to Manly, that chop will die down. So Manly's not only a beautiful destination that you want to get to, it becomes a haven out of the wind as well. So I'm sure they're pushing as hard as they can to get here as fast as they can.
I'll tell you what else we're seeing is that time from Northern Beaches in the open mixed race, that's going to stack up well because our lapse time is now 1 hour 41 and 20 seconds. So the Northern Beaches time, 1 hour 46:28, is going to stand up pretty well throughout the afternoon. Are you going to school at the moment, Kakoa? What are you seeing in terms of the way conditions are changing?
It's definitely changed a lot since this morning. It was nice and mellow and flat, and I think the men are probably going to have the most fun grinding it up wind like that, but it is what it is. You take it as it is, and then you work together as a team and make the goal happen, right?
It'll be interesting to see the men's race because the run down to Bradley's Head is going to be sensational. Yeah. They'll be catching runs and they'll be surfing. So that first part of their race will be really interesting.
And have you heard about some of your rivals? Who do you think will be, you'll be up against this afternoon? I've heard Cronulla are very strong.
Everybody's competition. You know what I mean? We don't speculate and pick one team out because anything can happen out there, right? It's the ocean. I mean, never count anybody out because it could just be somebody's day today.
We've spoken to Dean quite a bit about stroke rates. Is that something the Red Bull team focus on, like how many strokes you put down per minute?
No, not too much on stroke rate. It's like how we were talking about earlier. It's a lot about feeling and really understanding your boys or your team, right? And the more time you put in, that kind of varies based on conditions and all that stuff. But as long as it feels good, that's the most part.
Yeah, it sounds like your whole career, Dino, winning 10 Molokai ski races is all about feeling the run of the boat and, surfing what you feel.
Yeah, and that's on an individual basis, but it transfers over to these team boats too. The only difference is 6 of you have to feel the same. Mm-hmm. So if 6 of you are feeling the same, then you're going to make that boat work. And if the steers person's getting their paddle in the water all the time too, then you've got a boat that's going to be moving really quick. And there's nothing better than catching a big run in one of these things.
I was going to say, there's nothing better than feeling that momentum as well of the boat just flying.
It's a great feeling for sure.
So we're seeing this team here. I'm just trying to pick up their number. I think that's the Singapore team. Is that 415 that we're seeing? It is. So that's the Singapore Paddle Club.
So that's Dennis Saseks. He's the guy that coaches, a Hungarian marathon kayak paddler. So he coaches all these guys, or girls and guys. And as I said, I was over there last year, and the squad consisted of about 100 paddlers. So it's an awesome setup they have in Singapore.
I guess we focused on stroke rates because of the fact that if you watch sprint kayaking and events like that, quite often you'll see that they're at 120 strokes per minute.
Yeah.
And then they'll drop back depending on where the race is at. So we're almost set to go back for another live update. And, looking forward to seeing what's happening out on the water, because last we saw, the gap was just maybe 3 or 4 boat lengths between the Hawaiian team and Dana Green, the Californians. So we're just about to go live to the water. And Kalai is there. What's the latest, my friend, with this women's race?
All right, we just passed Middlehead here at Sydney Harbour. This is our 3rd place boat. Northern Beaches, they did great on our mixed race, and their Wahine team, their women's team, is having quite a showing here. They're in 3rd place. They're holding strong. They look tough. They look happy. They look stoked to be out here. A little bit of a rough water situation. It's uphill, but they're looking strong. They're looking tough. We also have had no change in the last few minutes as far as 1st and 2nd place. Again, coming around the corner at Bradley Head, Outrigger from Oahu, or Team Vacation as they're calling themselves, they were able to pull away from Dana Point and slowly, if at all, have begun to open up a gap between them and Dana Point. Although I would say the gap between this 3rd place crew right here and Dana Point is fairly sizable and doesn't look to be getting any smaller. So I'm going to assume that right behind us there, that's Mooloolaba Team White holding on in 4th place. So again, with pretty secure separation, we have Team Vacation in 1st. In 2nd place, Dana Point from California. In 3rd, it's Northern Beaches. And in 4th place, Mooloolaba. Barring any big unfortunate events, this is how this women's race is going to play out. We have our drones and our other boat giving you live coverage from other parts of the race right here. Our boat is going to stay with the leaders. In just a second here, after we leave you, we're going to zoom up ahead, catch up with our 1st place boat as they come into our finish at Manly Cove, and turn over their canoe to the men as we get ready for our upcoming race in the men's division. That'll be our 3rd and final race of the day, so stick with us. It's going to be exciting, and in the meantime, between the two, we're going to show you some of our production stuff from Ocean Paddler TV. And again, we want to say a big mahalo, thank you out to Destination New South Wales for backing up AOCRA, the Australian Outrigger Canoe Racing Association, in support of this, the Sydney Harbour Challenge 2018. It's been quite a race. We have not been disappointed with the excitement, particularly what happened there with the lead change at Bradley Point, and we're looking for more beautiful paddling and beautiful weather coming up in the men's race after this, so stick with us. We're only halfway into a great day here in beautiful Sydney Harbour. Again, top crews, probably only about a quarter of this race left, just a few kilometers into the finish line in Manly Cove, and we're bringing you all the latest action as it happens right here from our live boat on our live coverage with Ocean Paddler TV and the Sydney Harbour Challenge.
So thanks again, Kalai, out on the water. The best job in the business, and doesn't he do a sensational job? He is Mr. Smooth.
He is definitely good at his job, no doubt about
In fact,
that.
that's his new name, Mr. Smooth. So live in the studio, and where do you sit in the boat?
I fluctuate. I'll sit up in the front and stroke once in a while, or I'll sit in the back and help steer. It really depends on the coach. So the coach makes the final call. So what the coach says goes, so we don't have much say in that aspect of it.
You said everyone in the boat's your hero.
Yeah.
Well, what about in the sport in Hawaii? Who is your hero back home? Is there a legend of the sport?
Man, there's too much to choose from.
Yeah.
This might sound a little corny, but definitely my big brother is probably the main reason I got into paddling in the first place. So I got to go with my brother, Keola Wright, and if it wasn't for him, I probably wouldn't even be in this position right now. So, and then on top of that, there's huge names like Kai Bartlett, Karel Tresnick, and I mean, those guys that paved the way for guys like me. And if it wasn't for people like that push the limits, I don't think this sport, and not even just in Hawaii, all around the world, there's athletes everywhere that push the limits of this sport, and it's only going to be better for the growth of it.
Well, it's how we feel about this guy here,
Yeah,
who is, like, you know, the word pioneer is thrown around, and it probably makes you feel old, Dean Gardner, but that's what you've done in all sorts of water sport in Australia.
Yeah. You know, I've been very lucky to be able to race in different places, and you know, I love going to Hawaii to race. And I remember the days of Mike Judd and Jimmy and John Fody and you know, all those guys that used to race the Channel with us on the OCs, and it was always fantastic to see so many good water people taking part in such unreal events, and these guys, you know, that have made a lifestyle out of paddling a canoe. You know, it's fantastic.
So they're in the home straight. Let's give, if you're watching the international stream, welcome. Thanks for joining us. And here's the latest update that we've got. Now, we're seeing that it's 1 minute and 26 from the Hawaiians back to the Californians. So really, they are just powering home the Hawaiian team. Northern Beaches third place, so they are 3 minutes and 23 seconds behind as we go back to live pictures. Mooloolaba 2, 5 minutes behind the leaders. Mooloolaba, their senior team, 7 minutes 41 back. Mooloolaba 1, 7 minutes 58, so little separating those two teammates. Then Noosa in 7th place. Then back to Outrigger Australia with a couple of crews. Dana White also is top 10. That's followed by Port Hacking, so a Sydney club. In fact, two Sydney teams back-to-back there, and they're in different categories. A couple of Singapore crews in 13th and 14th. Then Mitamataga from New Zealand. Cronulla in 16th place. Now, we're with the leaders, so they're not far from home, Dean.
They're 1,500 metres from home right there, and if we stuck our head out of this tent, we'd be able to see them. And they're just coming into view from here. And you know, as you can see, if you look at the water there on the screen, it's dropped down significantly. They're out of the wind a lot now, and they're definitely out of the current. So they're probably moving a lot quicker than what they were 15 minutes ago.
So we're on standby now. Kalai will call this home in just a few moments, but they look great. And what a back half of the race. Like, they made their move. You said we were going into some shallow water, and that's where they made their move. So looking at our GPS, so now it's just over 30 seconds out in front. In fact, that's refreshing at the moment. So we're seeing that it's 1 minute and 26 in front at the moment. So the Hawaiians, what an impressive performance.
Yeah, hats off to everybody racing.
You said they're all your friends. Who's in that crew?
Stroking, we have Hoku. I haven't met a couple of them, but Aulani Hall's one of them. Hoku, Anela Borges, Amy, Angie. Yeah, I've known them for quite some time now.
And who's the driving force of that team?
Hard to say. I mean, Amy is an amazing one-man paddler, and they're all amazing athletes. So if there isn't one standout, I'm sure they all work together to make that boat move.
And what will you do as these girls head toward the finish line? You're an hour away from blast-off, and really, that's what it will be at 2 o'clock this afternoon.
Yeah, I'm excited, stoked, and ready to get in the water and get wet.
So, Dino, call this home, my friend. I think they're getting close to the finish before we go live to Kalahi out on the water.
Yeah, well, I think I don't know if the feed was being updated correctly, but it looked like the girls from Northern Beaches were gaining on Dana girls. So there might be a bit of a battle going on for second now. I'm not exactly sure about that, but it'd be interesting to see if they're starting to catch up to them a little bit.
And the Hawaiians, they have well and truly upped the rating. So they're fluctuating between 9 and 10 kilometres per hour, but the Northern Beaches, you can also see on the GPS, they've lifted their intensity, as you said, and you can see they're between, well, at the moment they've dropped slightly, but they were up around the 10-kilometre mark just a few moments ago.
It makes it easier when you've got someone just in front of you, you know, like it's easier to catch someone and hold someone off. So
when you see the finish line, you know it's time to go, huh?
So those girls might be making that big move. You know, it looks like the girls at the front have got it wrapped up, but it'll be interesting to see what develops in second and third here, especially as they hit this flatter water and you know, see who has the power to really sprint home over this last 1,500 metres.
So where are all these girls based? Are they Kona as well?
No, they're actually on Oahu, and a lot of them paddle for Outrigger Canoe Club, and they've been together for quite some time, I'm pretty sure, yeah. Been getting coached by Johnny, and learning how to really be efficient in the canoe, and it shows everywhere they go. You know what I mean? They're making moves in the women's paddling world for sure.
And what about your OC1 career? How is that going? You said there's a lot of OC1 at the moment?
Yeah, we're in the middle of the season, so everybody's in full swing. So, I mean, even if we're not in the six-man together, it's kind of like a game for us. If we hear one guy went, everybody else wants to go and make sure they put in their time. And
so elapsed time now, 1 hour and 54 minutes, almost 2 hours in the boat, Dean Gardner.
Yeah, a little bit longer than the previous race, and we kind of expected that with the wind picking up and the current moving against them on this back half. And it's a tough grind when you've got both those forces working against you. You know, it's okay if one of them is and you've got the other one working with you, you can get away with it. But when you're pulling a big boat like this through those waters, it makes it really tough. And we saw the speeds drop when they came around Bradley's Head. And they've managed to do a fantastic job along this back half. And if you look at the screen now, there's now regular white caps, whereas before there wasn't. So, as we said before, it's going to be interesting to see how the men's race plays out.
I'll tell you, the other factor is that when they turned at Luna Park, the Hawaiians and the Californians, their split time was low 50 minutes. I think it was around 52. Mm-hmm. So if they had have gone negative split, they would have been in the low 140s. But you see just how tough this has been coming home. We're on standby now to go live to the water. Kalaihi is out there, and we'll go to him in just a few moments' time to call this one home, the Open Women's Race. So impressive by the Hawaiians. California's in second, Northern Beaches third. But let's get an update from the water. Kalaihi.
All right, we're here with our leaders, Team Vacation from the island of Oahu in Hawaii. All of these girls are born and raised in the islands, and they mostly, except for maybe one of them, paddle for Outrigger Canoe Club. And they had a third place finish at the Navahini o Kekai this last year, which is basically the World Championships. This team also traveled to compete in the Hawaiki Nui this year in Tahiti, which is their championships. Just an incredibly grueling race, but they came in third place, which is a hell of a performance being a crew outside of Tahiti. So these girls are here, they're doing their thing, and they really have performed amazingly today. As you can see behind you, there's a ton of boat traffic. Their steers woman, Amy Woodward, is just trying to get them home safely at this point. We're going to give them some room to make sure that they can navigate this little wake here. Hopefully we don't witness something catastrophic. But these girls have been paddling together for a while. They've been building their program over at Outrigger. You're going to see Amy try to use this little wake that she's got. Maybe you can surf it a little bit. They're going to push through this. But I just wanted to note something as we're watching these ladies paddle. They are continuing to look very blended, very smooth. They have a nice, strong, and long application through the water with a quick recovery. This is kind of where you want to be as far as paddling, not only in the technique that they're using, but in the way that they are able to paddle together. So to recap their race for a little bit, I would say for 3/4 of the race, maybe 2/3 of the race, they followed closely behind the leader, who was Dana Point. They were able to stay really close, within firing distance the whole time. It was a bit of a challenge for them to come around the turn buoy under the bridge based upon their canoe. But at Bradley Head, some drama happened there. They were able to pull ahead and have continued to increase their lead. It's almost like their plan the whole time was to reserve their real output till that 3/4 mark, till that Bradley Heads mark. We're gonna race, we're gonna stay smooth, and at this point, we're gonna do our thing and pull out ahead if needed to at that time, not knowing what the other girls or other teams are going to be able to do at that time. So if that was their plan, which what it seemed to me to be, they executed perfectly. They have pulled ahead, stayed smooth, and now it's just another day of paddling for them. They're coming into our finish here, maybe a kilometer or less, and they continue to open up the lead on Dana Point. Whether Dana Point has slowed or this team continues to be fast or even faster, I'm not sure. But as we come into this flat water, the canoe that gets to the nicer water quicker will be able to open up the gap with the canoe behind them. So right now, these girls are just looking smooth. And another thing to point out is how quiet and controlled these paddlers are. Everybody in this team knows the job. They're doing their job, and they have confidence that the other lady is doing her job. And right now, these women are textbook. They're getting a little bit of encouragement from veteran steersman Amy Woodward, but right now, they're just doing their thing. This is no stress paddling for them. They're staying long, they're staying smooth in the water, and they're having fun. This is going to be a heck of an afternoon for these girls celebrating this win after coming all the way from Hawaii. So we'll throw it back, folks in the studio, but we're looking for a great finish from this team vacation and a great performance by Dana Point and, of course, Northern Beaches right behind him.
So, Kalai on the support boat, and great summation of what we've seen. Dean, would you agree that just tactically the Hawaiians' vacation have been perfect?
Yeah, what a dream job they've done, you know. They went down, they just sat, let the Dana girls take the lead and expend their energy, and they made the move at exactly the right time. And you can see now they just look perfect. Their stroke is impeccable. It's moving nicely. The boat's just bouncing along, and you know, they've extended their lead to over a minute. So it seems like they've done the dream race.
Kakoa Cow alongside us from the Red Bull Racing Team, 25 years of age. As we watch pictures, they're just about to come in now. So in the final, well, they're in the home straight now, no doubt about it. Looks like a men's crew warming up. I've just got to say, if like Kalei said, if they finish third in the World Championship, those girls, it must have been an incredible cruise to beat them.
Yeah, unreal athletes. Outrigger Australia actually came and put on a clinic in that channel too. Team Bradley, always hats off to them. They always show up and blow up at the channel for sure.
So after seeing all that chop, Dean Gardner, look how beautiful and smooth the conditions are here in Manly Cove.
Yeah, in Manly, look at it. They call it God's country. Look at that. It's fantastic.
So these pictures beamed around the world. This is brought to you by Destination New South Wales, AOCRA, Ocean Paddler Television, and the streaming guys. And I tell you, they have been absolutely brilliant, some of the pictures that they brought you this afternoon here in Manly. So Northern Beaches winners of our first race, the Open Mixed. And here come the winners. We're going to go to Kalei to call this over the line. In fact, they're just about to cross the marker buoy. We'll say goodbye to Kakoa Cow and wish you good luck.
Thank you guys so much. Good job on this amazing event. I'm stoked to be here right on.
So nice to meet you, mate, and good luck with the Red Bull team. So it looks like they've crossed the line now, but we're about to get the official word from Kalei.
Pulling up on our finish here for the women's race at the 2018 Sydney Harbour Challenge, and congratulations to Team Vacation. These ladies came up from the island of Oahu and laid it down in the water today. Beautiful job by them. We're looking at a second place finish from Dana Point outrigger. Sorry about that little camera angle. We're doing some shuffle here on the deck of the boat. Again, not sure if it was part strategy, but a beautiful race by these ladies from Oahu. Now, as you saw, hopefully through our drone and our other boat coverage, what happened there at coming into Bradley's Head, there was a bit of a mix-up coming into it. The steerswoman from Dana Point I think she may have been changing her paddle at the time, changing her steering blade. She dropped it somehow, and oddly enough, the steersman from Outrigger was able to somehow reach down and pick it up. She was wondering what to do with it. We instructed her to just kind of let it go, and we spun back around in our boat, picked it up. As we caught back up with the girls as they were rounding that little lighthouse there at Bradley's Head, it seems somehow that maybe Outrigger I'm calling them Outrigger, it's going to be Team Vacation. They were more prepared or something for that change in the weather, or maybe it was just that they decided that it was at this point that they were going to up their tempo, up their output, whatever it was. At that point, as they came around and headed down this portion of Sydney Harbour, the two canoes had a little bit of touching in there, a little bit of a bang happening, and Outrigger somehow was able to just pull away, and not only pull away, but continue to increase that lead and their pull away for really the rest of the race. As you can tell, second place boat hasn't come to the finish line yet. They're just off of our bow here. If we could get a little bit of a follow behind them. we're going to be able to show you this canoe coming on. And honestly, a fantastic performance by these girls from Dana Point Outrigger Canoe Club. And I'm going to be going this way, a little bit of boat tactics. Thank you all for staying with us. I'm not sure where he's going to, yeah, there you go. We're going to come around this side, Dolan. Sorry about that. Okay, and you can see our second place boat coming in there, our second place spot. More steer to the right. Steer to your right. Now neutral. Okay, right there. And so we're still going. We see these ladies here from Dana Point that had a heck of a race. But whatever happened there at Bradley's Head, this is what decided the race. They led for 3/4 of the race. They had a nice turn at the buoy. They were pretty much established with that vacation canoe right at their heels. But what's interesting right now is what's happening in the background here. We have our 3rd and 4th place canoes. I would say 4th place has closed the gap slightly, and that's going to be Northern Beaches approaching us in 3rd place, and right behind them, Team White Mooloolaba in 4th. A very strong showing from the team from Mooloolaba. They have, again, 3 canoes probably in the top 10, if not the top 8. So pretty good. They have a white, a blue, and a Masters team. So congratulations to Mooloolaba for laying down a really great performance here. But it's Northern Beaches whose mixed team took 1st place earlier today. These ladies, we didn't have them projected as the talk on the beach didn't have them projected, but they really fooled us. They've come here and put down a momentous effort and a heck of a finish in 3rd place, representing the first Australian team. That is Team Northern Beaches, coming in here 3rd place at the Sydney Harbour Challenge.
So we're hearing the applause in the background as our crews finish, and the conditions just look absolutely gorgeous at the moment, Dean Gardner. So the official winning time, Hawaii Vacation, 2 hours, 1 minute and 51 seconds.
Yeah, a lot tougher than this morning's race. You can see the big difference between the mixed and the girls' race. Almost a 20-minute difference in time there, and I think you can attribute most of that to the fact that the wind's now blowing at about 13, 14 knots and creating a real tough run back. And that long stretch from Bradley's Head to Middle Head is really tough in that northeast wind and pushing current as well. So, yeah, it really slowed the girls down on that last bit.
I've got to say, it looked like a washing machine as well, one of the shots we just saw a second ago. But we're getting official time, so it's a 2-minute 41 gap back to 2nd place. So these are all open women's crews. Dana Green, the Californians, congratulations to them. 2:04.32. Northern Beaches are home as well. We saw them cross the line just a few moments ago. So that is boat 584 in 2:05.50. Now after that, well, we'll update this, but that's our top 3. Hawaii Team Vacation, Dana Green, the Californians, and the Northern Beaches. So what a great day for their club, winning the Open Mixed in 1 hour 46.28.
Yeah, and then taking out a bronze in the ladies. That's been a good day. It'd be interesting to see how they go in the men's event as well. But at the moment, you'd have to call them the top club here at Manly. What an awesome finish line. Look at that on the screen. It's such a different environment to what they were in 15, 20 minutes ago. And I guess that's what makes Sydney Harbour such an amazing place, is there's all these little nooks and crannies that you can hide in, and no matter what the swell's doing, no matter what the wind's doing, there's a place you can find that looks exactly like this. So well done to those girls in making that crossing.
Now that Kakoa has left our studio, give us your thoughts on that young man, 25 years old, living the dream in the Red Bull team.
Yeah, isn't that amazing? It's fantastic to see these guys making a lifestyle out of doing something we love. And we all have to work, we all have family, we all have a range of things going on in our lives. But when you can design your life around something you love to do, it makes it really special. And those guys have come together fantastically, and obviously they're one of the dominant crews around the world. And it's good to see, some of these bigger companies getting behind these groups of guys to pursue their dream and creating a spectacle for people that love paddle sports as well.
Look at the backdrop there. So we've got 3 crews home, but we're seeing a couple of yachts attacking on Sydney Harbour. It's just glorious.
Yeah, there's a lot of activity on Sydney Harbour, and I think we mentioned it before. It doesn't matter if there's no wind or there's lots of wind or there's no swell or there's lots of swell. There's always something going on Sydney Harbour, and from a paddler's perspective, you can always find just the right paddling conditions that you want to be in, to the relative calm that you can see here in Manly, to the sort of more extreme conditions out between the heads. So, you can see these girls are still out into some bumpy stuff. And there's probably girls that are out in some real bumpy stuff further down the course. So they'll be having quite a long day, and I wouldn't be surprised if we see some of the crews coming in well over the 2.5 hour mark.
So there's our GPS, and we've got our 4th team home as well. It's Mooloolaba White. So if you've just joined our international coverage, Mooloolaba have got 3 women's teams in this race today. So congratulations to their club. They've finished in 2:08.34. So if you have just joined us, Hawaii first, Vacation in 2:01.51. Dana Green, the Californians, in 2:04.32. Now, they led for probably 3/4 of the race.
Yeah, that's correct. They did lead for 3/4 of the race, and it looks like the outrigger girls or the vacation girls did a dream race. They just timed it and really hit it at exactly the right moment and went away with it. And when you can sort of get in front and then just go like that, it shows that you sort of had something in mind on what you were going to do.
Northern Beach is 3rd in 2:05.50. Mooloolaba, 2 hours and 8 minutes and 34 seconds in 4th place. So, like you said, Dean, still a lot of hard work for some of these crews, as we're seeing.
Yeah, how's that picture there with the blue water and the cliff face? It's just fantastic. And these girls here are in some pretty calm water compared to the girls maybe a kilometre behind this group. They're still going to be in some rough stuff. So these girls here have about a kilometre to go, and they'll be in the calm of the cove here.
What's on the agenda for you for the rest of 2018?
Yeah, a lot of paddling stuff. I run paddling trips, and we run. We've got an event tomorrow. It'll be our last event for the summer season, and it looks like the first seniors crew is just crossing over there now, looking pretty strong, still in time, and coming into that calm water.
So we'll be able to update you on this in just a moment, because we get this virtually in real time. So once they go past, you'll see directly ahead. In fact, they may have gone past it. Oh, no, on the right-hand side, there's a marker buoy. The minute they pass that, we should get that data come through to us in the studio, and we'll be able to tell you who the first senior team is across the line in 2018. And the first senior team, surprise, surprise, Mooloolaba. Well done. So Mooloolaba in 4th and 5th. So when I say 5th, they're the first senior team across the line. Congratulations. On top of the dais in 2 hours, 11 minutes and 52 seconds.
That's the beauty of having all these age groups mixed into the open race as well. The older ladies get to race the open crews and see how they're going overall. And there's some fantastic more senior crews in this event, and they're well up there in the overall race as well. So it's really good to see. So
along with Mooloolaba, we saw another boat cross the line, and would you believe it, Dean? It's another Mooloolaba team. So it's an open women's team. So 4th, 5th and 6th across the line. So Mooloolaba Blue, I believe that's a younger team, in 2 hours 12:02. So that is boat 493. And I can tell you about that crew. That's Marta Streaker, Carrie Williams, Jenny Lawson, Amanda Wheatley, Courtney Joyce, and Beck Rasmussen. So some of the younger members of Mooloolaba women with the guidance of seasoned paddlers. And Amanda Wheatley has a number of national titles and is one of Australia's finest open paddlers. So some experience and plenty of youth.
Yeah, I think Amanda lives in Samoa or one of the islands now. So great to see her coming back for this event. And, I think she runs outrigger events and things out in Samoa. And I think she was based on the Sunshine Coast prior to that. So great to see her coming back and racing for the her old team at Mooloolaba there.
What are your thoughts seeing paddlers like Danny Sheard still going around. And he's a colossus of paddling, isn't he?
Well, I guess that's one of the beauties of paddle sports is that you can stay in paddle sports for so long because it's not damaging to your body, and you're in a relatively safe environment, so you can't get knocked off your bike and things like that. So, it enables people to stay in it. And when you look at a lot of the fields, you'll see the demographic is generally a lot of people in their 40s, some in their 50s, and in our event tomorrow we have people racing in their 70s. So it's fantastic.
So
Yep.
Still watching the women finish here, Dean, and I know you've got to move on soon. You're not going to have a run at 2 o'clock this afternoon. You haven't been drafted in to a team?
No, I won't be having a run today, but I look forward to seeing the result of that race, and I think there's some world-class teams out there, so it's going to be a battle, and I think that their race is going to be a little bit different to the previous 2 races in that they're going to have more of a downwind for that first half, so whoever takes advantage of that and gets a decent lead might be able to hang on and bring it home.
Back to Kauai in just a moment, but if you have just joined the international stream, at the moment, Hawaii are home, vacation. Dana Green, the Californians in second, Northern Beaches third. Them Mooloolaba teams in 4, 5 and 6 in the women's race, but one of them is the senior team who've taken out the senior women's event this afternoon. They're the first 6 teams home. We're just trying to see who's coming in next on our live feed here. But, yep, we've got Noosa home. So another Queensland team are back in 2 hours and 15 minutes and 15 seconds.
That's a senior master there. That was the team we were watching earlier in the feed, and they've done a sensational job.
So Queenslanders in 4, 5, 6 and 7. Northern Beaches finish on the dais, and that goes with their win in the Open Mixed earlier today. If you missed some of the earlier results, the Masters Mixed, outrigger Australia from Currumbin. Port Hacking in second, the Lakes in third from the Central Coast. Senior Masters Mixed, Surfers Paradise Gold, Panamuna and the Love Boat in second and third respectively. And we're about to go back to Kalai, who's been on the water doing an outstanding job for us. Mr. Smooth, as I like to call him. Let's go to him now.
I got it. All right, behind us coming into the finish is Team Outrigger Kalundra, Open Women. This is Open Women from Kalundra. This is a Senior Masters team, Open team, that is coming in here to the finish. We're going to just kind of follow them in. And as you can tell, it's gotten a bit sunnier out here in Manly Cove. And this is just the quintessential Sydney day here. It's nice and bright and sunny. The water is clear and perfect. And look at all the people on the beach. This is what it's like every day here in Manly. This little area where the race is starting and finishing at is called Manly Cove. On the other side of this, you go maybe a couple blocks straight in there and you're on to Manly Beach where they're having a surf meet here today. So a lot of ocean sports happening in this area of Sydney over the weekend, and it's kind of exciting to just be part of that. We want to congratulate once again for all of you that have just tuned in. Team Northern Beaches, who won our mixed race earlier today. As far as this women's race, that we still have a lot of canoes coming in. Maybe only the top 10 or 15 crews have come in at this point. We have Team Vacation from Oahu coming in first place. In second place, Dana Point Outbeer from California. And in third, it was Northern Beaches from right here in Australia. Behind them was Team White from Mooloolaba. And in fact, in the top 8, I want to say that we had Team Mooloolaba's other open crew and their Senior Masters women crew come in with strong finishes. So even though they weren't in the top 3, Mooloolaba as a club had incredible representation here in the Sydney Harbour Challenge. Definitely building a very strong program there. So as you can see, what's going to happen now as we get the rest of these canoes in off of the water as we finish the women's race, they're going to be switching out with the men, and the men will be taking to the water starting here shortly. Now, one of the things that has happened, as we mentioned earlier, is that the sun has come out, and this is going to be a very, very hot men's race. Not only have we lost that light layer of clouds that we've had above us that was kind of filtering out the sunlight, but it's warmer, it's more intense. And the other thing we're predicting is that these northerly winds that are coming off this beach, and although it looks very calm inside here, out there it's kind of rough, and these northerly winds are expected to kick up. So it's not only going to be a hotter race, but it's going to be a windier race, meaning that on that last third or last quarter of the men's race, they're going to be working uphill a lot, really tough. So that's going to be quite a daunting task for our men's crews, but I'm sure they're up to the challenge. This women's race and the mixed race tend to take about just shy of 2 hours for the ladies and the mixed crews to finish. Now, the men's race will be about 15 to 20 minutes quicker. Last year in 2017, due to inclement weather conditions, it was rainy, it was cold. This really today, as you're seeing, is a complete 180 from last year's race. We were with jackets and 3 layers and umbrellas and trying to stay dry and keep our cameras from getting ruined. But today, it's just idyllic. It's sunny. It's beautiful. But it means it's going to be hot. And this men's race, it's going to be about hydration. It's going to be about how these guys are prepared and how they're able to hold on to what's in their tank. As I was mentioning earlier, last year's race, due to that weather, they cut the course a little bit short. And so the men finished in just about an hour. I was able to talk to the winners of last year's race, team Red Bull Va'a from Hawaii, and one of their, I think he sits number 2, or maybe he stroked in that race, Kua Nolan. Kua Nolan, he was saying it was an hour. We were just getting warmed up. So that Red Bull team is here again this year. Oddly enough, they almost didn't make it. They were supposed to be here a couple of days ago, had a little bit of confusion with their visas, and missed their Hawaiian Airlines flight out of the big island of Hawaii where they train. So they would fly from the big island to Oahu, fly out of Oahu here to Sydney. But because the visas weren't quite in order for the whole team, they missed their flight. But they were able to make it up and were able to arrive last night, the night before the race. But I'm sure with that team, with the amount of training that they do, the amount of experience that they have, they are going to be just fine for today's race. So we are again looking at an amazing performance from them. For all of you that are watching at home, that are paddlers or interested in paddling, I would recommend really just watching the way that the team Red Bull kind of just blend together. That canoe just flows. Their stroke is nice and long through the water, again, like this outrigger women's crew. But I would say the Red Bull Va'a men, these guys are kind of bigger guys. The majority of their crew are 6 feet and well over, 6'2", 6'3". They got big guys with a lot of power and a lot of reach. And you're going to see how they get a nice big reach, a nice strong application through the water, and that canoe just seems to glide. And the way that they call it out and talk their way through the race, it almost seems like their number 3 guy, who is basically runs the crew. And most people think the steersman should be the one who runs the crew, but mostly in Tahiti and parts of Hawaii, the number 3 seat, he's the one that runs the crew, and the steersman just deals with the steering. So you're going to see how, hopefully we can share with you how he'll just run the crew and they'll feel their way through it. We have a couple more of our ladies teams right here coming into the finish here at Sydney Harbour. Again, it's going to be a little bit of time before we are able to have the complete finish of this race with all the crews passing the line. Again, these women with quite a performance today. But it's going to be another several minutes before all of the canoes are across the way into the finish line. And we're able to have our little break there and catch up with our men's team, and you'll be able to see that from Red Bull Va'a. We also have Cronulla from right in this area here in Sydney. They're looking strong this year, and of course not only Northern Beaches but Outrigger Australia is looking strong this year as well as far as the men team. So it's going to be an exciting race. We're looking forward to a very hot, shiny, sunny race for the men. But the beautiful part about that for you sitting at home is that in the background of this race, there is nothing but scenery. You're able to see beautiful cliffs, interesting urban areas, tons of sailboats and power boats passing you in the background. Everything points, large ships, there's always something to see in this race. It's a very it's a great opportunity for us to film something that is completely dynamic, not only in the race itself, but with the scenery behind it. It's constantly changing, and there's always something to see, not only in the va'a, but in the scenery behind the paddlers. So we're getting excited to bring you that, and this is the ultimate for us, the men's race coming up. Fantastic performance again by Northern Beaches, who won the mix, and Team Vacation, who have won the women unofficially, but we didn't see any problems out there. So right now, we're going to be having a break shortly where we kind of reset everything and get ready to bring you the men's division. And as you can tell, this Hawaiian is going to be a couple shades darker come time for me to go home tomorrow evening. So stick with us on our coverage of the 2018 Sydney Harbour Challenge. The men's race is coming up. It's going to be exciting stuff. Sending it back to you in the studio. Thanks for joining us.
So we're back live in the studio, and thanks to Kalai again doing a sensational job. We've now got 13 teams home in the women's. The latest is a crew from Singapore in 2 hours 22:55. Look, alongside me, it's another standing O. Amy Woodward from the winning crew. We've got to duck down.
My team over there.
Yeah. In fact, this stream is going worldwide, and we welcome you to it. Let's bring the girls in.
Yeah.
So they can give a shout out to their friends and family and loved ones
Hi,
back
Mom.
home.
Happy birthday to my husband.
What's his name?
Ryan.
Mr. Woodward.
Yes, Mr. Woodward.
So, Amy, just a sensational effort. Another round of applause for our winning women's team, Team Vacation, in 2 hours and 1:51. You turned down near Luna Park in just over 50 minutes, but must have been hard work coming home.
Yeah, it really was. You know, our girls just pounded, stayed patient, and we were able to just kind of chip away at what seemed a daunting task when we turned that buoy.
Can you tell us about each of these team members and what they brought to the table?
Absolutely. So this is our stroku, Hoku Keala. She's our... Hi, Mom. She's our number one seat, and she is our fire, our hammer, our lead in one. She keeps us all honest in there. Just, you see how hard she's working, and it is unbelievable and inspires you. Number two seat is Angela Dolan, and she's a veteran leader on our team. You can stick her in any seat, 1 to 6, and we just love her, obviously, so much. Our 3 seat, Kahala Schneider, she's our baby of the crew. Hi, Mom. And she's, again, steersman also, can sit really any seat. Fantastic. She was our leader in the boat today, our captain in 3 seat. Just relaying, keeping everyone, on the same page, and so she did a fantastic job. Our 4 seat, Alani Hall. Hi, Mom. Hi, Dad. She's, our Lani Kai girl that we poached from Lani Kai Canoe Club today, and another absolute hammer. We were so lucky to have her with us today, and she's also doing the solo this year. And then, my beloved 5 seat, Anela Borges, who just helped me out there today steering. I didn't even have to say anything. She was hammering and staying on the left when I needed her to, and so, yeah. Just lucky to have these girls.
And what a race it was against Dana Green, the Californians. And Dean, you said it. They made a beautiful tactical move with probably about half an hour to go.
Yeah. It looked like, and I asked Amy before if you guys planned to do that, and it looked like that was your race plan, was to just sit there, be conscious of what they were doing, stay in touch, and then go. And is that how it played out?
Yeah, I think all these girls are training for the solo this year, so I kind of mentioned earlier, we knew we were going to be fit for this race, which is early on in our season. So we just kind of all talked before the race. We said, stay patient, and we're going to have a chance to really, I think, pull it home and have a good go at the finish. So we kind of, we stayed with them that first bit, and that was our game plan. We were just hoping to be, with them in that beginning part, and then, yeah, we were able to make a move, and these guys just absolutely hammered it.
Gee, Amy, it must be a great feeling. Undoubtedly one of the best women's crews in the world at the moment.
I don't know. We're absolutely shocked with this result. I'll tell you that much. And
well, according
to
Kakoa was here from the Red Bull team, and he said that you're probably one of the top 3 teams. He said he loves you guys. And
we love him, and we love Red Bull. Thanks, Koa, for the love. Oh, yay! That's the Dana girls.
I know, but you're the one who picked it up, so I'm going to let you give it back to me. So, I want to. What was it that happened right? What was it that happened right as you came around the corner? There was a little bit of touchy going on there. I seen a little bit of exasperation in your face. I don't know. It seemed as I was listening that if that was your plan, you executed it perfectly. As far as the crew, you guys look smooth the whole way. But what happened at that little tap area?
Yeah, you know, when you round, I have no idea all the landmarks. Bradley's Point. And then we were with them actually real close right there, turned on the buoy, came back, and we're trying to kind of, I think everyone was trying to duck out of the wind a little bit and run inside. And so we were just inside of them, behind them. And, you know, I think they were trying to cover us. Really smart move. It's, you know, veteran kind of tactic. But there was the wall near us, so there was very few places we could go. So just kind of went that way, and the steersman from Dana unfortunately dropped her paddle, and then I picked it up and was kind of just holding it. Had no idea what to do. He's like, drop it, we'll get it.
Well, I've got to say, congratulations again to you guys. We've got to take a short break before the men's race comes up at 2, but everyone here in this marquee, big round of applause again for the women's winners. The Hawaiians get the job done in 2 hours and 1 and 51 seconds ahead of Dana Green, the Californians, and the Northern Beaches. Stay with us. We're about to show some highlights of 2017, and then we're back with the big one this afternoon. How cool will this be? Well done to Hawaii. Team Vacation in first place in the Open Women's. Right now, let's take a look at the 2017 highlights.
Aloha, I'm Kala'i Miller, and welcome to Ocean Paddling. On today's episode, we head down under for the Sydney Harbour Challenge presented by Hawaiian Airlines. This is Australia's largest, most competitive, and most international six-man outrigger canoe paddling event. Outrigger canoe paddling has become a staple in Australian ocean sports, and with almost 150 six-paddler teams in attendance, the starting line was sure to be crowded, and the competition intense. Of course, with canoe paddling, not one race is ever the same. And this year, Mother Nature decided to make the Sydney Harbour Challenge presented by Hawaiian Airlines extra challenging for all the participants.
Welcome to Manly to the Sydney Harbour Challenge presented by Hawaiian Airlines. Thanks to our great sponsors, Destination New South Wales and Hawaiian Airlines, this is all possible. We're in our 4th year and we've got record numbers from all around the world. It's a fantastic field with well over 150 crews.
The story of today's race is that after the hottest summer on record, the weather came in last night. We got 10 to 20 knot winds and rainy conditions throughout the course. So it's an atypical weather pattern here, but hey, our paddlers are always ready to go.
A couple of Big Island boys put together a crew to come and participate in the Sydney Harbour Challenge. We're excited to be out here today. You know, we understand that Hawaii has a rich tradition of watermen, but Australia as well.
Now everyone's super pumped for this event, is to have all the top teams here. It's really good for us to have these guys come out to Manly and race us in our waters.
There's, of course, many canoe races around the country, but this is an exciting one for us. Just to come to Sydney, experience the place, and it's kind of an interesting course, you know, unfamiliar waters for us, and We've come together with an international crew, so it'll be fun racing with some people we've never been with before.
The preparation, getting dressed, I was fine until about an hour before my race. I've been racing for 30 years, and the butterflies definitely, they kick in. It doesn't matter.
It's extremely competitive, and people from all over the world coming to compete, and everyone wants to win. It's an extremely competitive group.
The first race is a mixed race, which is in Australia is a pretty big category. So that's a pretty solid race. And you've got the women, they'll race about midday, then in the afternoon the men, which is, I think it's a record number of 150 crews, so it's going to be pretty tight.
The canoes we've got out there today, we've got Kamanas and Rocks and Mirages, Southern Spirits. So there's a mixture of canoes out there. Now some canoes will suit actually punching into it better than others, but some will suit surfing home better than others too. But they all have to be weighted up for this event at 130 kilos.
It being primarily unlimited canoes, it seems like in this field in Australia. I mean, there is some consistency to the whole design, but there is some figuring out to do when you get into a new canoe.
Yeah, we've got a great course. It's 22 kilometres. It takes us from Manly Beach. It's a very scenic route. We've had crews stop and take photos underneath the bridge. They're that keen to be involved.
So you go out from here and you go straight out to Bradley's Head and you hang a right at Bradley's Head and you go around past Taronga Zoo and then you kind of go left at Taronga Zoo and towards the Harbour Bridge. We go under the Harbour Bridge, back round a buoy at the end and then back under the bridge past the Opera House and back into Manly.
The first half of the race was really tough. We were into the wind and the tide, and then some good sections coming back. We're getting the wind and tide behind us. Get some good runners. We had some really good bumps coming in that last section.
I was steering, so I was at the back controlling the boat, and it was pretty nice. I like the rough conditions, so perfect for me.
We were pretty fortunate to be out in the lead from the start, and we didn't really see anyone until we turned. So we were quite lucky that way and didn't have to jostle with anyone. So it was a good race.
The kids have been training really hard, and what you bring to race day is a reflection of what you've done behind the scenes for many months. It was a reward for great work over a long period of time, and the canoe felt really good. And to have so many young kids in there, or 4 juniors in there, they've got a bright future ahead of them.
With the rain at times coming in sideways, the conditions were extra challenging. Congratulations to all those who participated in the mixed division, but especially our top finishers. In third place, the Masters crew from Surfers Paradise. In second, Gold Coast Canoe Club. And in first place, Outrigger Australia with a time of 1 hour and 57 minutes. We'll be right back with more from the Sydney Harbour Challenge presented by Hawaiian Airlines.
Sydney, surrounded by pristine national parks, riverways, stunning water views, iconic beaches, and coastal walks from the north to the south, all with the beautiful harbour at its heart. You'll love every second of Sydney. Discover more at sydney.com.
The Sydney Harbour Challenge is made possible by the New South Wales Government via its Tourism and Major Events Agency, Destination New South Wales. AOCRA, the Australian Outrigger Canoe Racing Association. Produced by Ocean Paddler TV, dedicated to the sport and culture of outrigger canoeing. And co-produced by The Streaming Guys. You are now live. Don't forget to share with your friends on social media this exciting live coverage of the 2018 Sydney Harbour Challenge. The Sydney Harbour Challenge, presented by Hawaiian Airlines, is Australia's premier long-distance outrigger canoe race. And though the conditions this year weren't exactly a walk in the park, with strong winds and heavy rains at times, the women were up on deck and ready to go for the second race of the day.
Paddlers have come from all around the world and all around Australia to be here. We've got teams from Perth and Darwin and Tasmania. They're all so excited to be here. The weather, it's different. It's a challenge, but that's our sport. Our sport is outdoors and we've just got to adapt and accept what's given to us.
We've just come through a heat wave and today we're all wet and cold, so it's turned a bit ugly for us today, but we're just making the most of it and just enjoying the racing. I think that's all we can do.
We had a bit of a delay due to weather. Part of it was visibility and just making sure that everybody's going to be safe. The women's race, we probably started about an hour and a half later. Messy conditions, you got a lot of boat traffic. You've got other vessels that are out there. There's ferries, there's all kinds of other stuff that's going on out there besides just the outrigger race. And there was also a yacht race going on at the same time that actually went through the women's pack.
The great pleasure of the international races is seeing the top teams. It's always inspirational to be able to meet them, talk to them in person, ask them things about courses, the decisions they've made, their stroke rates, their blade choice, all of those things. It's something that we're really excited to learn about, and it's just fantastic to be with this caliber of athletes.
And it's just another way to help keep yourself motivated, to keep training, and especially for us from New Zealand, where at this time of year we're starting to train in the dark at night and in the morning, and we're in neoprene to keep warm, and if you don't have those kind of motivations in between, it's hard to keep yourself training.
I think there's a lot of distractions out there. The first year we ran the race, lots of people were stopping for selfies under the bridge. And the second year we had to stay in the briefing, they're not allowed to stop under the bridge. But yeah, lots of sightseeing, Opera House, Sydney Harbour Bridge, Luna Park.
And around further up, about another 5 or 6 k's, come around Taronga Park too. Well, I've actually heard an elephant, I think, we paddled there once. I thought, wow, that was pretty impressive. But paddling under that bridge, that's amazing. There's so much noise comes from it. There's trains, trucks, it's everything, and it's really exciting to go under the bridge. I loved it. I love it. I'd only come here to go under the bridge. I don't come here for any other reason.
the conditions weren't exactly like home, which we would have liked. So, you know, I've got a Tahitian over here, and it's not like home for her, and maybe it's a little bit like the Maori over here in New Zealand. So for her, I think it was good, but for us, I think it was not so good. But we appreciated being here.
We just kept an eye on what the other crews were doing and just worked our way on the inside of them as much as we could, so that they protected us. You know, they were a bit further out into the current, and then on the way back, we just tried to get as much ride as we could.
I think we had a pretty good start. We kind of just followed the group, and I think there's about 7 of us that kind of took off, and we just kind of slowly kind of got together because we've never paddled together. We just kept following the first team and just kind of followed them wherever they went. So, you know, lucky for us, they were in front of us in a way so we could go. We had a few little fishing line incidences where she had to bite like the line in order for us to get through the fishing line.
There was definitely a battle, but we didn't really know what was going on. We've actually just pulled this crew together in the last month. That was our 4th paddle together. So we just basically had to focus on our canoe and what was happening in our boat and try and block out what was happening around us. But yeah, there was definitely a lot of action out there today, so it was good fun.
We had some tough ladies that made short work of that course out there. Congratulations to all our paddlers, but especially our top finishers. In 3rd place, it was the Masters crew from Ruamata Aotearoa. In 2nd, it was a senior Masters women's crew from Kaimakana. And in 1st place, Outrigger Australia with a time of 2 hours even. We'll be right back with more from the Sydney Harbour Challenge presented by Hawaiian Airlines. The Sydney Harbour Challenge is made possible by the New South Wales Government via its Tourism and Major Events Agency, Destination New South Wales. AOCRA, the Australian Outrigger Canoe Racing Association. Produced by Ocean Paddler TV, dedicated to the sport and culture of outrigger canoeing. And co-produced by The Streaming Guys. You are now live. Don't forget to share with your friends on social media this exciting live coverage of the 2018 Sydney Harbour Challenge.
Sydney, surrounded by pristine national parks, riverways, stunning water views, iconic beaches, and coastal walks from the north to the south, all with the beautiful harbour at its heart. You'll love every second of Sydney. Discover more at sydney.com.
Welcome back. We're here down under in beautiful Sydney, Australia for the 4th annual Sydney Harbour Challenge. And due to delays caused by strong winds and heavy rain, the course had to be shortened for the last race of the day. They're rolling up to the starting line and they're ready to go.
I think the race has been super competitive this year, especially with Hawaiian Airlines coming on board and sponsoring the event. The first prize is 9 tickets for the men to Molokai Hoi and 10 tickets for the women. So yeah, everyone's very competitive. There's been lots of crews come from New Zealand and Team Red Bull turned up. The men's race was really exciting.
It's probably our top race at the moment in Australia. You know, everyone's coming from the top of Queensland, they've come from Melbourne. I think there's a few crews from Western Australia, so it is a pretty competitive race. Everyone's friendly on the beach, but I'm sure as soon as we hit the water, it's going to be game on.
We're sure that Australia fields some really fast crews. You know, normally they come to Hawaii and they have a really, really good crews in the channel as well. So Australia, New Zealand, it's an international field, so we're not sure where we're going to be. You know, so we're excited to see, you know, where we end up.
It's really more of a camaraderie than anything else. Yeah, we're trying to push the sport forward.
Manly Harbour is extremely popular, especially weekends. And with the wind up today, there'll be a lot of yachts out there.
There's everything. There's sailors, there's scuba divers, there's ferries, and they're just out of control. There's so much boat traffic, and I think last year, off the start line, one of the boats took out a sailboat. So hopefully this year they steer right away and let us take off.
And we were watching the ferry boats go across, and they're really bouncing back and forth. So I think it's going to be a little bit of a challenge there, not just with their boat wake, but from all the wind swell that's coming. So we're just going to have to bob and weave and stay out of their way.
It's everyone, rain or shine, wants to be in the water. So they have, besides competing against each other, they compete against the natural rhythm of the harbor. It's really exciting to be able to have Hawaiian Airlines employees, the Hawaiian Airlines Team Kokua, participate in this competition. We have a number of employees who are extremely talented in paddling, in surfing, in one-man. They are very competitive as well.
Most teams get a chance to train together, and our crew is comprised of all employees from Hawaiian Airlines. We have 3 pilots in the crew, 2 guys from maintenance, and a guy from the corporate office. We've done 3 practices together, and we're just stoked for the opportunity to come down and be able to paddle under the Sydney Harbour Bridge and check out all the different beautiful sights in Sydney and represent Hawaiian Airlines.
It's definitely been a challenging day at the Sydney Harbour Challenge presented by Hawaiian Airlines. Up next, more action from the men's race.
Sydney, surrounded by pristine national parks, riverways, stunning water views, iconic beaches, and coastal walks from the north to the south, all with the beautiful harbour at its heart. You'll love every second of Sydney. Discover more at sydney.com.
The Sydney Harbour Challenge is made possible by the New South Wales Government via its Tourism and Major Events Agency, Destination New South Wales. AOCRA, the Australian Outrigger Canoe Racing Association. Produced by Ocean Paddler TV, dedicated to the sport and culture of outrigger canoeing. And co-produced by The Streaming Guys. You are now live. Don't forget to share with your friends on social media this exciting live coverage of the 2018 Sydney Harbour Challenge. The last race of the day at the Sydney Harbour Challenge presented by Hawaiian Airlines is reserved for the men. And with many ultra-competitive international crews in attendance, the battle was intense.
In Australia, the water lifestyle starts very young with our nippers and surf lifesavers. Here at Manly, you can see the stand-up paddlers. Over here, we've got the outrigger racing, and 2 kilometres that way, we've got the ocean with the surfboard riders. So we're very much a coastal orientated community.
It's unfathomed what Hawaiian's doing. They're taking the company to another level, getting involved with athletic sports, especially outrigger canoe paddling, and creating races like this and opportunities like this for people to come together from different countries.
To support an event like this in Australia and open the doors through their generosity to get Australian paddlers exposed to overseas competition as well. And I just think it's a fabulous race relationship we've got going on with the Hawaiian Airlines.
We are Hawaiian Airlines. We really try to demonstrate our kuleana of that name, whether it's to support the culture itself or the culture of competition and paddling. It makes me proud as an employee to have a team to compete, to participate, and to have our name be a part of the presenting sponsorship.
The conditions today was some slight headwind, a little bit of side wind, and some cold weather. Not used to it from the Big Island.
Just pushing, grinding upwind. A few bumps around the headlands, pushing upwind, and Red Bull just pushing away from us. And at the turn, it got a lot easier. We were turning with the wind, and then there was nuts boat wash the whole way back. From the start, Red Bull just took off, sort of got a boat length, and we sort of sat in behind, trying to stay with them. And then around the headlands, when there was a few bumps, they just surfed away. Felt like we grinded it back a little bit. And then as soon as every time we hit the bumps, they just pulled away.
We had one of the teams from Australia that was pretty much on our tail the whole race. Real strong team, so yeah, stoked for those guys.
This is really the pinnacle event for us at the moment because it's a great event to come to. Our paddlers can fly in, drive in for the weekend. Again, enjoy Sydney, enjoy the challenge, but take in the scenery too of the Sydney Harbour, Luna Park. It's something you do not get a chance to do unless you're doing this sport in an event like this.
It's about having fun, giving it everything you've got, leaving the tank empty with your mates and the people you meet. So you come in here to compete in the Sydney Harbour Challenge race is a great opportunity just to continue to build on your journey.
To come to this point, we've forged relationships and friendships here in Australia, not with just the paddling community, but just with the community in general, to be a larger part of this place of Australia. It's very exciting.
What a great men's race here at the Hawaiian Airlines Sydney Harbour Challenge. Their course was a little shorter, but man, these guys did some great work out there. Congratulations to all who paddled today, but in the men's division, especially our top finishers. In third place, it was Cronulla's Open Crew from Australia. In second, Pacifica, also from Australia. And in first place, Team Red Bull from Hawaii with a time of 1 hour and 3 minutes. A bit of a windy and rainy Hawaiian Airlines Sydney Harbour Challenge this year, but all of our paddlers had a ton of fun nonetheless. That's all the time we have for this episode of Ocean Paddler. Thanks for joining us. I'm Kalai Miller, and until next time, hoi pa! Aloha, I'm Kalai Miller, and welcome to Ocean Paddler. On today's episode, we head down under for the Sydney Harbour Challenge, presented by Hawaiian and most international six-man outrigger canoe paddling event. Crowded and the competition intense. Of course, with canoe paddling, not one race is ever the same. And this year, Mother Nature decided to make the Sydney Harbour Challenge presented by Hawaiian Airlines extra challenging for all the participants.
Welcome to Manly to the Sydney Harbour Challenge presented by Hawaiian Airlines. Thanks to our great sponsors, Destination New South Wales and Hawaiian Airlines, this is all possible. We're in our 4th year and we've got record numbers from all around the world. It's a fantastic field with well over 150 crews.
The story of today's race is that after the hottest summer on record, the weather came in last night. We got 10 to 20 knot winds and rainy conditions throughout the course. So it's an atypical weather pattern here, but hey, our paddlers are always ready to go.
A couple Big Island boys put together a crew to come and participate in the Sydney Harbour Challenge. We're excited to be out here today. You know, we understand that Hawaii has a rich tradition of watermen, but Australia as well.
Now everyone's super pumped for this event, is to have all the top teams here. It's really good for us to have these guys come out to Manly and race us in our waters.
There's, of course, many canoe races around the country, but this is an exciting one for us. Just to come to Sydney, experience the place, and it's kind of an interesting course, you know, unfamiliar waters for us. And we've come together with an international crew, so it'll be fun racing with some people we've never been with before.
The preparation, getting dressed, I was fine until about an hour before my race. I've been racing for 30 years, and the butterflies definitely, they kick in. It doesn't matter.
It's extremely competitive, and people from all over the world coming to compete, and everyone wants to win. It's an extremely competitive group.
The first race is a mixed race, which is in Australia is a pretty big category. So that's a pretty solid race. And you've got the women, you know, they'll race about midday, then in the afternoon the men, which is, I think it's a record number of 150 crews, so it's going to be pretty tight.
The canoes we've got out there today, we've got Kamanas and Rocks and Mirages, Southern Spirits, so there's a mixture of canoes out there. Now some canoes will suit actually punching into it better than others, but some will suit surfing home better than others too. But they all have to be weighted up for this event at 130 kilos.
It being primarily unlimited canoes, it seems like, in this field in Australia. I mean, there is some consistency to the hull design, but there is some figuring out to do when you get into a new canoe.
Yeah, we've got a great course. It's 22 kilometres. It takes us from Manly Beach. It's a very scenic route. We've had crews stop and take photos underneath the bridge. They're that keen to be involved.
So you go out from here and you go straight out to Bradley's Head and you hang a right at Bradley's Head and you go around past Taronga Zoo and then you kind of go left at Taronga Zoo and towards the Harbour Bridge. We go under the Harbour Bridge, back round a buoy at the end and then back under the bridge past the Opera House and back into Manly.
The first half of the race was really tough. We were into the wind and the tide, and then some good sections coming back. We're getting the wind and tide behind us. Get some good runners. We had some really good bumps coming in that last section.
I was steering, so I was at the back controlling the boat, and it was pretty nice. I like the rough conditions, so perfect for me.
We were pretty fortunate to be out in the lead from the start, and we didn't really see anyone until we turned. So we were quite lucky that way and didn't have to jostle with anyone. So it was a good race.
The kids have been training really hard, you know, and what you bring to race day is a reflection of what you've done behind the scenes for many months. It was a reward for great work over a long period of time, and the canoe felt really good. And to have so many young kids in there, or 4 juniors in there, they've got a bright future ahead of them.
With the rain at times coming in sideways, the conditions were extra challenging. Congratulations to all those who participated in the mixed division, but especially our top finishers. In third place, the Masters crew from Surfers Paradise. In second, Gold Coast Canoe Club. And in first place, Outrigger Australia with a time of 1 hour and 57 minutes. We'll be right back with more from the Sydney Harbour Challenge presented by Hawaiian Airlines.
Sydney, surrounded by pristine national parks, riverways, stunning water views, iconic beaches, and coastal walks from the north to the south, all with the beautiful harbour at its heart. You'll love every second of Sydney. Discover more at sydney.com.
The Sydney Harbour Challenge is made possible by the New South Wales Government via its Tourism and Major Events Agency, Destination New South Wales. AOCRA, the Australian Outrigger Canoe Racing Association. Produced by Ocean Paddler TV, dedicated to the sport and culture of outrigger canoeing. And co-produced by The Streaming Guys. You are now live. Don't forget to share with your friends on social media this exciting live coverage of the 2018 Sydney Harbour Challenge. The Sydney Harbour Challenge, presented by Hawaiian Airlines, is Australia's premier long-distance outrigger canoe race. And though the conditions this year weren't exactly a walk in the park, with strong winds and heavy rains at times, the women were up on deck and ready to go for the second race of the day.
Paddlers have come from all around the world and all around Australia to be here. We've got teams from Perth and Darwin and Tasmania. They're also excited to be here. The weather, it's different. It's a challenge, but that's our sport. Our sport is outdoors and we've just got to adapt and accept what's given to us.
We've just come through a heat wave and today we're all wet and cold, so it's turned a bit ugly for us today, but we're just making the most of it and just enjoying the racing. I think that's all we can do.
We had a bit of a delay due to weather. Part of it was visibility and just making sure that everybody's going to be safe. The women's race, we probably started about an hour and a half later. Messy conditions, you got a lot of boat traffic, you've got other vessels that are out there, there's ferries, there's all kinds of other stuff that's going on out there besides just the outrigger racing. There was also a yacht race going on at the same time that actually went through the women's pack.
The great pleasure of the international races is seeing the top teams. It's always inspirational to be able to meet them, talk to them in person, ask them things about courses, the decisions they've made, their stroke rates, their blade choice, all of those things. It's something that we're really excited to learn about, and it's just fantastic to be with this caliber of athletes.
And it's just another way to help keep yourself motivated, to keep training, and especially for us from New Zealand, where at this time of year we're starting to train in the dark at night and in the morning, and we're in neoprene to keep warm, and if you don't have those kind of motivations in between, it's hard to keep yourself training.
I think there's a lot of distractions out there. The first year we ran the race, lots of people were stopping for selfies under the bridge. And the second year we had to stay in the briefing, they're not allowed to stop under the bridge. But yeah, lots of sightseeing, Opera House, Sydney Harbour Bridge.